Today is Monday, March 20th. We'd like to welcome everyone to our school board meeting. Board members present in the boardroom. We have members Holloman, Lessons, Donley, Jacobs, and Bellamy. We also have member Higgins somewhere. He was just here. He'll be back. And then online we will have, all right, member Wilson will join online. I will let the record know when she's on. With that, we also have our superintendent with us this evening. With that, we'll move to our land acknowledgement and our opening statement. Ms. Shaw, first the pledge, yes. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of the Anchorage School Board, I want to take a moment to recognize and offer gratitude for the sacred ancestral lands of the Dena'ina people. We acknowledge and appreciate that our offices, facilities, and schools are on these sacred indigenous lands, and we honor the traditional care that has been given to this land throughout generations. We are grateful for the opportunity to grow, learn, work, and create educational communities on the sacred land. We extend continued respect for the many cultures, creativity, and its resilience of its indigenous peoples. Chanan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shaw. Again, we'd like to welcome you to our meeting and thank you for attending and supporting the work of the Anchorage School Board. The board would like to thank our students, parents, teachers, staff, school business partners, and the entire community for your investments, both in our district with your time, your talents, and your tax dollars. This brings us to item A3, which is our approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move to approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second? Oh, thank you. Member Higgins, second. Is there any opposition to approving the agenda as presented? Member Wilson is online.
Madam President?
Yes.
On the agenda, I was writing the thing you asked us to work on. I'm concerned about, and I'm trying to get it up on my, hang on just a second. I'm concerned about the late addition in the non-action items of Memorandum 129. I know it's based on the letter the superintendent issued on Friday. When exactly was public notice given that this item would be added to our agenda?
Member Donnelly, it has been a placeholder on the agenda since Tuesday. Then that is consistent with the way we have operated, and it was posted prior to 4 p.m. on Friday.
Okay. Well, my point is that typically posting somebody by 4 p.m. on Friday would give people till the following Tuesday to become aware of it and to prepare a response or testimony. But since today's kind of an unusual meeting being on a Monday, it's significantly less time that would normally be available for complying with the minimum time period.
Miss 72 hours.
But in the past, I remember us issuing things on Friday as a pretty standard procedure, not just Saturday. I just think that it's pretty short notice, and I'd really like to see it postponed on the action agenda till the next meeting. So I'll just move.
It is not action tonight, Member Donnelly.
Oh, I'm sorry, the non-action agenda to the next meeting. So I would move that ASD Memorandum 129, instead of appearing tonight on the non-action agenda, appear at our next scheduled meeting on the non-action agenda.
Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion fails. We are back to approving the agenda as presented. We'll take a voice vote. Thank you.
Member Higgins? Member Holloman?
Yes.
Member Lessons?
Yes.
Member Jacobs?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Yes.
Member Donnelly?
No.
President Bellamy?
Yes. And that motion passes 6-1. The agenda is approved as presented. Next, we go to item B, our reports, student report today.
So SAB, or Student Advisory Board, held their past meeting on February 14th. And we do have our next meeting tomorrow morning at 8:15 in the morning, where we will hear from our Juneau attendees who went down for the legislative session with some of our school board members. We will be hearing a report from them. We'll be hearing what challenges schools have overcome or any accomplishments. We'll be hearing from Eagle River, Stellar, Clark, Wendler, and Bartlett for our school spotlights. And then we will continue our discussion about the AASA vote resolution brought to you by Eagle River. And then we'll hear one from Diamond about the snow days and suspensions resolution. And then we'll have a discussion about the school start time. And then we will have our upcoming elections for the rest of our executive board positions to set for next school year. So yeah.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Shaw? Member Jacobs.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Not a question for Ms. Shaw necessarily, but it's timely in terms of this agenda topic. The Anchorage Assembly is seeking a youth representative for their body. Applications are now being accepted online through the 30th, and I believe that's going to be covered at the next SAB meeting. So I wanted to give that information a plug here as well. Thank you.
When is the next meeting, Ms. Shaw? Tomorrow morning. Okay, any other questions or comments for Ms. Shaw? All right, thank you. That moves us now to our goal, item C on our agenda, our goal monitoring report for our CCL, our college career and life readiness goal. So we're going to have our conversation regarding interim goals number 3.1 and 3.2. These reports were given to us at the last meeting. Before we begin our discussion, I'd like to confirm that all 4 components of the monitoring report are present. We will be looking specifically at increasing the number of students in grades 9 through 12 that complete the 9 through 12 completion of the AP courses of grades A, B, or C. We will also be looking at completing a financial literacy course that we'll have to, of course, put more data behind because we don't have the data yet complete. You will notice it says the percentage of 9 through 12 students successfully completing a financial literacy course with a grade A, B, or C will increase from a percentage to be determined this year, 2023, to whatever percentage we decide for 2024 when we use our end of year data. So the report clearly shows what is being monitored. The data is also includes 3 reporting periods, the current reporting period and the target reporting periods. The report shows the superintendent's assessment of the evaluation performance, and the report shows documents that shows the documentation that evidences the superintendent's evaluation in the tables that are provided, as well as in the next steps that are indicated in the report. So with all the components being present, we'll begin our monitoring conversation. I'd like to start with the who, the what's, and the whys questions if we have them. If we can, I'd like to ask the committee, do you want to start with AP course or do you want to start with literacy?
I think whatever your pleasure is, Madam President.
Okay, so let's just start with the AP. We'll start with the AP discussion. So with that logic in mind, we will then move to, after we're done with our who, what, and whys, we'll move to the how questions. All right, so we can open up our floor to discussion. I do know that with spring break being upon us, that we weren't as timely as we would like to have been with our questions, but we appreciate your efforts anyway. So let's start our discussion. Member Lessons, you want to kick us off?
Sure. This is not a who or what. It's a did question.
Okay.
All right. So I was struck on slide 3 that the years that we had students in online learning, 1920 and 20 to 21, we had a greater percentage of students passing than in the other years on that slide deck. And thinking back to my own high school years, right, EP courses maybe can be very engaging. There's also maybe a lot of independent learning. And I'm just wondering if there was did something work well in online learning for EP courses in particular? And if so, what did that look like? Or what was the secret sauce?
If I could kick us off with this one. So I was actually an assistant superintendent over advanced academics during the pandemic. And one of the interesting things that happened was that the College Board had to pivot to online advanced placement testing as well. In fact, they completely redid the format so that way that students could even take the test from their cell phone if they could, because they were trying to be really mindful of access to technology and internet. So the format was very different, and across the board nationwide, passing rates went up, but it created this multi-year dialogue around how to make the test more inclusive and to, create blended models and that sort of thing. But all of that to say, it was a very strange year, like a lot of things in that year. But as you can imagine, when the pandemic hit in March 2020, there was a lot of anxiety for high school seniors, specifically when it came to whether they could take their test or not. And the College Board did deliver on that promise.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bryant. You have a follow-up?
Yeah, you sort of go back and forth, but we're not measuring like how well students are testing actually in any of this. And that was one of my sort of ancillary questions, is that we're looking at our students completing with an A, B, or C. So I think one of the questions that I had was, how does our students passing with a passing grade align with getting a passing score on an AP exam? And is that data that we're tracking? But I am still interested in if there's anything that went well in online learning for AP classes that could then be applied in other scenarios.
Sure. Through the president to member lessons, I'll start out with what worked well. One of the things that does work well about online AP exams or courses and completing those courses online is the accessibility for kids. Many students who want to take an AP course is only offered one class period during the day. And so by taking it online, they can flex with whatever their schedule is if there's conflicts in the scheduling process. And then that way they're not eliminated from taking the AP exam or the course itself. The alignment of grades A, B, or C is based on college readiness research at the national level, and it equates to more readiness when they get to the college level if they've obtained an A, B, or C in their AP course. And the research goes even further. It's not even just about completing the course or passing the exam. It's just the experience itself that the research says an AP course provides. Just by participating in a course at the rigor of the advanced placement level, students have more college readiness readiness when they get to that level. So those are some of the things that work well. In particular, when you look at online AP coursework that we offer through Apex, there is a significant review portion to the Apex curriculum that does work very well to prep kids for the AP exam itself. So that's what's working well about online coursework in AP for Anchorage School District. And I'll turn it over to Chris to talk a little bit more about your data question.
Yeah, thank you. So it is something that we can provide. I just want to give a little bit of clarification. It is a significant amount of sort of manual labor, simply because from the vendor, it's what we in our world we call it's not clean data. So there's a lot of actual manual handwork in terms of matching students, and so it would probably be best for an RFI process because it would take some time.
Yes, follow up.
I guess it would be of interest, but it just seems kind of timely. I mean, there were some slides shared in the legislature this past week with respect to X number of students in Miami-Dade University passing, a 3 or higher on their AP exams. And that wasn't something that I knew whether or not we were tracking here. So I don't know if that's worth staff time or not.
Yeah. So to kind of address your question, we do track the passing rates by school and by course. And so we do look at those, and we've been in front of the board a number of different times talking about equal opportunity schools and the work that we're doing to increase enrollment of all different types of students in advanced placement. Part of that work is looking at those pass rates and creating an environment that makes kids more successful once they're in that advanced placement course environment. So we are tracking those, but Chris is right, it is manual labor. When we get the information from College Board, it's by school, it's by individual student. It doesn't compute well with our data systems, and so we do a lot of hand tracking both at the school level and between our two offices.
So I just have a question on access, I guess. What are the barriers to AP classes? I mean, what would, because I know it's all self-determined by the student and their family, pretty much. They know about it. I mean, I never had an AP class. I never did my whole life. My kids did. So I was informed through them as to the importance of what this meant for my kids. So I guess I want to know, what are the barriers, and then how have we adjusted in commitment to this goal? How have we adjusted our practice?
Sure, great question, Madam President. So that's always an evolving process of awareness of AP and what it can do for students, and I think we've grown tremendously in the most recent times, especially through our equal opportunity schools work. But some of the barriers, it really depends individually on each student, but some of the barriers are, just as you kind of explained from your personal experience, just awareness of advanced placement and the benefits of being in that rigorous course environment, and what it can do for you later if you're headed on the college track. So schools are part of the work that they are doing at the high school level is hosting parent nights to educate them. They're hosting informational sessions for students. They are also doing peer-to-peer invitations, because oftentimes for teenagers, that's more impactful than their parents telling them they need to take a course. And so, if a high school student who looks like them and presents like them is saying, yeah, you can do this and you should take this course next year, and this is what's cool about this course, or this is what you really do, this is really exciting about this course, that builds more excitement for students to want to enroll in the course the following year. So there's a number of those strategies that are taking place, but often it's about awareness. It's about feeling like, do they belong or not belong in that environment? And part of the work we're doing there is to create a more welcoming environment in the advanced placement classroom itself. In our history, there has been, and this is not just in ASD, but nationally, kind of this idea that you should weed your kids out as a teacher because you only want the brightest in the classroom to take that advanced placement course. And the philosophy around that has very much shifted to we want as many kids who want to be in the course to be there. And then we want to create a supportive environment so that they're successful in the course as well. So those are all things that we're working on at the high school level.
And if I could just chime in, I think that's the most important thing is making sure that advanced placement can be inclusive, because all sorts of students can be successful in advanced placement course. And it's important to know that there are differing levels of success depending on which course that you're enrolling in. There are a lot of courses where students can do very well, but they may not give it a chance because of that advanced label. So it's important that our staff are aware that all students can be successful in AP, and that's the philosophy of the College Board as well. But I do want to highlight a specific strategy being implemented by Equal Opportunity Schools, which is a partner that we have, and essentially their intent is to increase the number of students from underserved backgrounds to go into AP courses. But I think the really interesting thing that's happened as a result of that work is that we have more students signing up for AP courses across the board, not just economically disadvantaged students, which I think is a good thing. But I actually met with the CEO a couple of weeks ago, and he was sharing with me these individual student profiles that they prepare for campus staff. So it essentially gives teachers and counselors a heads up as to which students may need an extra nudge to sign up for the course, but they can be very successful if they make that leap and enroll in the course. So I think those types of strategies, telling a student that you believe in them goes a really long way in helping them enter the class and then ultimately being successful in the class. And then, of course, making sure that teachers feel supported and being able to differentiate for students who may not all be on the same playing field. And part of me, I'm passionate about this because I spent the bulk of my career trying to expand access and opportunity in advanced courses. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I really do. Any other questions? I'm going to start to my left. I'm sorry. Member Higgins, do you have anything right now? Member Jacobs? Okay. Member Dunley?
Is there any additional factors being considered in this report tonight? The financial, personal finance?
Oh, we're going to do that report next. Okay. We're on the AP class course. So if you can hold that question till then. We're back around to member lessons.
Yeah, I was really interested in, in looking at this chart, my analysis suggested that I'm sorry, the one that's in front of me, okay. Slide 5, right? So the biggest drops last year were among non-economically disadvantaged students at maybe our comprehensive high schools. The students who are this year's juniors and seniors, who are last year's sophomores and juniors. So I'm just really curious, what's the status of our enrollment? I don't know, the attempts this year, like we have students who are enrolled currently. What does that look like?
So through the president to member lessons, we're pretty much on track to where we are from this report for this year as well. But we won't have our results for who actually passed the course, obviously, till the end of the school year. And then furthermore, we won't have who passed the AP exam until this summer. So it's really hard to draw total conclusions quite yet. It's typically an analysis we do over the summer and then present that data in the fall to our staff to work with. And then we certainly could bring it to the board as a comparison year to year. But we are fairly on track to what you see here for the next year as well. One of the things I will say that's a little bit different than our history with AP is that we are offering more courses, but and increasing our enrollment as well. So the breadth of courses that students have to choose from AP is expanding, and then more students are choosing to enroll as well. So,
great. Follow up?
Thanks. This is sort of partially submitted ahead of time and partially not. We passed a budget that has a range of teacher FTE at our different high schools. They range from 29 teacher FTE at Chugiak to 65 at West. Mm-hmm. Do we have, and I did sort of ask a question about, what did the offerings look like at each of our schools? Does our student enrollment level at each of our different high schools, does that change the scale or size scope of offerings of our AP classes? I mean, there is online, it sounds like, or may have been.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. You do see different course offerings at different schools. There are generally some very common ones, such as AP Language and Composition at the junior level and AP Literature at the senior level. Those are some of the common ones. There's some common math courses as well. And typically you see at most schools AP World History, US History, and AP US Government. Those are very common ones, but there are more obscure ones like AP Music Theory that are not offered at every school. So it really is driven, one, by student requests and what they would like to see and offer, and the student insight cards that Dr. Bryant just mentioned in his response to a previous question. Often that's used as well as a way of sorting out which courses are offered, but it's typically student interest driven. And then there's also just those common courses that are required for graduation credit. Our AP Lang course does count for their English 11 credit for graduation. And so those are some of the reasons why you have common courses across the board.
Yes. Go on, Member Holloman.
At one time, we had a grant program in ASD that was funding resources for AP classes at our high schools that had high percentages of military family.
Correct.
Is that still in effect?
So to Member Holloman, we had what is called the NIMSY grant it's attempting to increase enrollment amongst military students. And it was based out of Eagle River and Bartlett High School. We no longer have that grant, but we did learn a lot from that grant and how to support students. And we've carried over many of those practices across the board. I happened to be a principal at a competitive high school at the time and was very jealous of that grant. So anyways, but we did learn a lot from it, but we don't have it any longer.
You mentioned scheduling earlier in a different context than what I'm going to ask my question. But so what drives the scheduling of AP classes? I know because I would think that those kids that they would be the ones that would need the high level math, the high level. Now I'm guessing. I don't know. So what are the drivers like when you schedule the class? And then what determines whether a kid takes it in school or online? Is it their convenience? And then who pays?
Sure. So multi-part question. So
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll go through the first part. So in scheduled, when you're building a master schedule at the high school level, we do a whole course request process that starts in January. That's one, driven by graduation requirements. That's a big driver of what's offered. Two is student interest is a big driver as well. And then third is that advising piece, which I hope we actually get more nuanced through our college career life work that's upcoming. But what does a student want to do after high school? Because taking AP courses to take AP courses isn't always the most effective approach for a student. You really want to advise students to take the AP courses that match what their future aspirations are. So if they want to do medicine, as an example, you're going to try to guide them to math and science AP courses versus someone who maybe wants to do journalism. You would focus them on more of your English AP coursework. And so there is a nuanced advising piece in there. And you're also going to look at what level of academics the student's at, and are they ready for a particular math course at the AP level, as an example. So there's some significant prerequisite work. That's why we talk a lot about our MTSS structure and making sure kids have access to the most rigorous general education curriculum possible and building them up. So when we get to those AP course level decisions, they're ready, and then we can advise them based on what their interests are and what their future aspirations are. So I'm not sure I answered every question in that.
You pretty much did. I just wonder what drives, because building a master schedule is not an easy thing to do. But you answered the question. I was interested in whether this is based on what students really wanted to take, not what we hope they would take, but what they actually say they want to take.
Right.
And so my only follow-up would be, does it look like in middle school when we're transitioning kids to 9th grade?
Sure. So there are transition meetings that take place between our middle and high schools to talk about individual students. Often that stems out of our collaboration time as a part of that process in the spring. That's really a focus. Teachers are making recommendations from the middle school level to the high school level. There's also a data review that is a part of that process as well. So it's a multi-pronged kind of transition process to the 9th grade. We're also talking about, social emotional needs of students as well. If there are, other issues at play that need to be understood for that transition. But we do have freshmen, but we don't have a lot, but we do have some freshmen that are ready for that AP level when they reach 9th grade. And so those are all part of the scheduling and transition conversations that take place this time of year.
Is there any financial support? That's the only one you didn't, like if a student chooses to take an online AP class because it's just not available for their schedule during the school day, is that a family expense, or is there any kind of?
So if you're in our comprehensive high schools or one of our alternative schools, you take that course like you would just take any other course.
Okay. Yep. Great.
And then on top of schools have a system for how to assist that student so they're still able to participate.
Okay. All right. So we are talking about our goal number 3.1. Any other comments before we shift over to financial literacy? And I know that we purposely did 2 reports this time so that we could kind of catch up. We kind of got behind with all of our budget discussions. All right, so let's move to, we can start with you, Member Donnelly, because you had a question on financial literacy.
I was wondering if we were going to get to that. So I'd love to hear what the report is first.
Okay. So what we normally do with our, once we're given the report, we send in questions. So let me see if anybody's got a question, and then maybe you can chime in. The one question I have, and I didn't send it in, so I apologize. I know that there is some legislation being put forward relative to financial literacy. And I wanted to know if we had an opportunity to look at that, because I think the way we did, can you first of all explain how we are doing the financial literacy piece in our district, how we managed to reimagine a couple of courses so that would fit into it. So if we could do that kind of an overview, and then I'll ask a follow-up and then pass on.
All right, so financial literacy, we were hoping actually to be a little bit further along in the process than we are now, unfortunately. So, and then I can relate it to Senate Bill 99. I think that's the one that you're referring to. So currently where we're at, this past summer, we did have a team of folks looking at the community input around financial literacy, some of the national standards around financial literacy, and how to incorporate that into our existing personal finance course, our economics course, and a math course, and the name is escaping me right off the top of my head. But you can get it in all of those courses is what our hope is.
Is it a semester or quarter?
It's a semester course.
Okay.
And I apologize for not remembering the name of that course off the top of my head. But so when we received the work that the committee did at the end of the summer, there was a team of us that reviewed that. We realized significant gaps in the work that was done over the summer. And so as a team, Diana Beltran and I, along with others on the academic services team, decided that we needed to reinvestigate that work and fill those gaps. And so that's what has taken place over the course of the last semester. We are currently implementing that work into our courses this semester as a pilot. There is a unit that specifically addresses personal finance. Many of the points that are in Senate Bill 99 are included in that unit. So that Senate bill is not necessarily a surprise to us, and we believe we could probably address those. So we will see how that pilot goes this semester, and I know there's significant board interest in that, and I think a few of you are going to visit classrooms and things of that nature to investigate it a little bit more. We are hoping hoping to evaluate that at the end of the semester, tweak anything that needs to be tweaked over the summer, train teachers this next fall, and then implement fully in second semester of next year. We were hoping to be further along than that, but like I said, we just couldn't put out the work that we received after last summer and needed to fill the gaps. So that's where we're at currently.
Correct. So for SB 99, your thoughts?
Yeah, so in terms of Senate Bill 99, many of the points, and Dr. Bryant, feel free to chime in if you want. Many of the points are things that we were planning to address already. So the topics that are listed in Senate Bill 99 are not surprising or something we're unwilling to address in a course. I guess reservation is that if it becomes a standalone course or it needs to be an entire semester course just dedicated to personal finance or financial literacy, as opposed to being a broader course like economics, that would really cramp our scheduling for kids, especially in the social studies realm. There's already 4 years of graduation requirements for social studies in particular. It leaves very little room for kids to make choices about the topics that they would like to learn about, unless they take it as an additional social studies course in addition to those graduation requirements. So I would worry about making it a specific course and jamming up schedules for kids and eliminating choices for them. And then there's always the funding piece as well. And what I read in the bill is that it comes as an unfunded mandate for districts. And so that's always a concern as well.
Okay, thank you. Member Jacobs.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Second. Apologize. I just wanted to thank staff for the presentation and the data and an update as to where we are. I am visiting Eagle River High School Wednesday, so if any board member wanted to come along with, I don't think we want to overwhelm them, but I think I could probably sneak one more in. Please let me know. My understanding of SB 99 is it would allow essentially what ASD is doing to embed financial literacy in econ and related classes, which I think is great because that flexibility is important to avoid additional unfunded mandates. And so I don't know that our work here in the district that began a year ago influenced the bill, but I know I've been pretty transparent that we've been proud of the work that's gotten us at least this far, and I know it's definitely an area of interest for each of us. Because it aligns closely with our goals. So I'm excited for more. I appreciate the update, and I'm appreciative of your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. You ready, Member Donnelly?
In the spending component of the projected course, is that going to include managing a checkbook, be able to write checks?
Yep, that would be one of the things addressed, is how to do a personal budget.
Good. And before we move on, I just wanted to say that I'm also interested in what other ideas you may have that might be added to this whole concept of not just financial literacy, but preparedness of our students to move on in life, to become citizens. So if there's any other ideas on your plate about that, I'm really interested in those.
Sure. So to Member Donnelly, I think that's the whole body of our College Career Life Ready initiative. I think that's, I'm pretty excited about that work, and financial literacy is embedded in that work as well. And so what I think you're going to see as we progress over the next 18 months or so, as we do more planning and getting ready to launch more things in that initiative, you'll see a much broader sense of creating a pathway for a future for students, which obviously includes like, how do you buy a house and take care of your own checkbook and bank account, and what are interest rates and how does that work, and how do you use a credit card effectively? Like, all of that's going to be part of that life plan so that you land well as an adult. And so I have a lot of ideas, and it's probably too much for this board meeting, but I'd love to tell you more about them. So
absolutely.
I just wanted to put in a plug for Well Baby Care, because as a senator, I included that in the potential curriculum. It wasn't a mandate, but it's a concept. It was based on data that was identified of how many older children are taking care of younger children and infants. And if there was a way to eventually, and it's a process, I'm not saying, well, we have to do this right now, but to evolve into some very brief, at least, things that would educate kids to that, I think it'd be really a healthy thing to do.
Sure.
Okay, let's come back around. Member Lessons.
As long as we're sort of using this as a launch pad for future discussions, I think that part of the college career life readiness really needs to include data literacy, right? Statistical literacy, information literacy. I don't really know how many kids are going to actually use a paper checkbook, right? But they're going to be using apps. I think yes, and in the 21st century, I mean, there's value to checkbooks. But I think that there's a lot that we could put in the CCL goal, and I'm keen on that information literacy being a component of it.
Sure.
I know that we're working with JA Junior Achievement. What other partners are we working with specifically on the financial literacy piece?
So Diana can probably help me with this, but Junior Achievement is definitely one of them. We work with them really specifically in personal finance courses. We also work with them at the middle school level, which is like financial literacy light, if you will. So it's kind of the warm up for the high school personal finance and economics work. So there's that partnership that's very strong. There are financial institutions that also help us with different classroom projects and things of that nature in our community. And I think that list will expand as we begin to develop this course. And we also develop more business partnerships through our college career life ready work as well. So I don't know if you want to add to that partnership. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from our board members? 2 years ago, I'd never heard of college life career readiness together. We either had one or the other. And I think the community's vision for this goal is absolutely before its time. So the work we're doing, I know it's new. We didn't have any basis to build off of. It's at least in Alaska. But now we're building that foundation. So I thank you guys for the work that you're doing. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to end our conversation. Thank you, guys. Dr. Bright, do you have anything else to share?
No, we're excited to continue the work and share more about our great CCL plan. There's a lot of good stuff in the works.
All righty. And that brings us to item D on our agenda, our first hour of public comment. And we will, of course, begin with our students. But before that, I'd like to call the audience attention to our guidelines. They were at the door when you came in. So we are happy that you're joining us today. If this is your first time, there are some basic rules and aids to navigate the boardroom within the boardroom during meetings of the Anchorage School Board. During public comment, board members will not answer questions or engage in discussion with members of the public. This is the public's time to speak and the board's time to listen. If you are here to participate in public comment, you will have 3 minutes to speak, time permitting, and tonight it is 3 minutes each. On occasion, we may reduce that time depending on the number of people to be heard from. Each person is allowed one opportunity to testify on a non-agenda, non-action item. Within 30 seconds of your comments, a bell will ring just to give you an idea that you have 30 seconds left. An action item memo is first introduced by the vice president, and if second, by another board member, the president will open the floor for public comment. You will have 3 minutes to speak, time permitting. Tonight it's 3 minutes. When 30 seconds remain again, you will get a little cue with the little bell. Ms. Foster to my left is our bell ringer. The school board welcomes the public to observe and contribute to our meetings through their comments, but to be productive, our meetings must be structured and civil. A few of the rules for the boardroom: do not attack a member's or speaker's motives. Speakers may point out what he or she believes to be a natural consequence of a board action, but may not engage in speech that personally attack others. Refrain from disturbing the meeting. We asked that there be no cheering, applause, or outbursts. Attendees will not be permitted to interrupt the business of the school board. There's also no profanity or foul language allowed. There is no place in a public meeting of the Anchorage School Board for profanity or swearing. No waving of signs, flyers, or posters. If you have handouts, though, that you'd like to share with the board, please give them to Ms. Foster and she will share them on your behalf. As a school board president, I have a duty to enforce these rules of civil decorum based on our policies and our bylaws. As such, speakers may be ruled out of order for violation of these rules. Anyone who does not adhere to these rules and fail to conduct themselves in a civil manner may be asked to leave the meeting or be removed from the meeting. So with that, I'd like to begin our public testimony with our students, and I will be calling you up two at a time. Scott Hobbs and Haley Herman. Welcome. Your mics are already on, so just pull them down so you can begin speaking when you're ready. Scott, you go first. You have 3 minutes, and welcome.
Thank you. Distinguished members of the school board and community members in attendance, good evening. My name is Scott Hobbs, and I'm a junior currently attending West Anchorage High School. In years past, I have come before the school board to testify about matters that I not only feel passionate about, but also with an incentive, such as the possibility of extra credit in the various history courses I've taken or a scouting merit badge. But tonight, there is no extra incentive for me to speak. I am here in front of you all because I cannot watch idly as hate and vitriol is directed at the LGBTQ community, our valued educators, and the school district as a whole. Because as an Eagle Scout, a student, and a human being, I am compelled to speak out when I see toxic behaviors and hate speech being exhibited by others. Throughout my life, I have been able to take in all kinds of information and literature to form my own opinions on various topics based on how they line up with my Christian faith, morals, and ethics. One such topic is gender identity. I've been able to consume media regarding gender identity and the struggle to express and understand it by various people. Furthermore, I've been in environments such as school where expressing one's gender identity is encouraged. Other students have shared their experiences with me regarding and understanding their own gender identity. With this knowledge, I realized that I was not alone and was able to understand and express my gender identity as someone who's bisexual. But if we were to have been in a different schooling environment ruled by censorship and the restriction of the ability to think freely, we wouldn't be comfortable with who we are. This discomfort with one's own being would lead to an increase in self-harm and suicide in this district. Who you are as a human being is not a choice. When you are born, that is who you are. And right now, through the act of calling for the censorship of literature in our school district concerning gender identity, the ability to learn about and express oneself is being ripped away from those who need it the most. Daily life, including school, work, and extracurricular activities, is already hard enough for those who don't feel accepted by society. And the maliciousness of these recent complaints regarding censorship are unacceptable. Parents wishing to police the information their own child has access to at school have multiple steps they can take to ensure their child conforms to the thoughts and ideals that they approve of as parents. Parents can have a polite discussion with educators regarding the material being taught in the classroom. Parents can also submit a formal complaint regarding literature present in schools. Lastly, parents can remove their children from the public education system and homeschool them to ensure their child's ability to think freely is limited to their family's ideals. But to direct hate speech toward the LGBTQ community, educators, and the school board is offensive and repugnant and cannot stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hobbs. I'd like to call forward Skylar Hardy. Haley, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, Anchorage School District. My name is Haley Herman. I'm a freshman at Chicago High School, and amped up for algebra should be considered as an elective next year. Currently, I'm in amped up for algebra. Next year would be geometry and construction. I've never liked math. It's always been a drag and draining to me. This year it completely changed my perspective towards that. I genuinely love math and see myself saying, I can't wait for math class, and not, I really don't want to go. Amped is very hands-on, and we even made shirts. I'm wearing one right now. For the process for the shirts, we had to take into factor and account the color for the ink, and we had to factor in the cost price for all of that, and then we had to calculate the costs for how much shirts we would need to sell and make the money back. It's very engaging, and as someone who is a visual learner, that's very awesome to me, and I love being able to have hands-on activities and apply them and use my math skills in them. You can see the shift in perspective of your peers liking math. My peers seem happier and more willing to learn and put effort into trying to understand math instead of just pushing it off. And my teacher is a finalist for the Presidential Award for Math, and she filmed our class, the AMP class, for her submission. AMP is a program that encourages students to leave their comfort zone and try new things, and it's very, very effective. Please consider geometry and construction as an option next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for not cutting the Spanish immersion program as well. Thank you.
I'd like to call, is it Asa Utic? Whenever you're ready, Skylar. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Skylar Hardy, and I'm here to speak on Family Partnership Charter School. I'm a sophomore at Chigac High School. I was a Family Partnership student for 5 years. I decided to try Chigac High School for this year, and I'm choosing to go back to Family Partnership. I tried some sports at Chigac High School my freshman year, and I really enjoyed the social environment. It really influenced my decision in choosing to go to CHS as a full-time student my sophomore year. I wish I could say it was everything I hoped it would be, but it wasn't. Going back to a district-governed school helped me realize all the great things about Family Partnership Charter School. It allows more freedom when it comes to school. I love that I'm able to have a say in my curriculum because I can choose something that is more geared toward the way I personally learn. I think every student should have that choice. They don't, and that's what makes Family Partnerships so great. They give the students and the families freedom when it comes to education and sports. I think it's very important for a student to have a say in what classes they take because it's their future. The sponsor teachers at Family Partnership Charter School guide the students down the path they think is most beneficial for them while taking into account the students' interests and opinions. I don't think this situation is fair. If ASD were to take over Family Partnership Charter School, it would no longer be a choice school. It would be an alternative school. If I wanted that, I would be staying in Chigac High School. But I want to go back to Family Partnership where I have more choices when it comes to my education and my future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it Asa? Thank you. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Asa. I'm from Family Partnership Charter School, and I've been coming to this school for over a decade. During my high school, I have served as treasurer for my freshman and sophomore years, and I'm currently vice president of our student government, as well as an SAB member. I love Family Partnership Charter School, and I would hate to see this charter be terminated. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Asa. So now I'd like to call Karen Levine, or maybe it's Levine, and Kimberly Hayes. Welcome. Karen, you go first, and then Kimberly, you will speak second. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm here to speak on behalf of the students and staff at Rogers Park Elementary. If it feels a bit like deja vu, it's because it is. I was here exactly 1 year ago to speak on the exact same topic. Prior to spring break, we were told that we are losing 2 staff members from Rogers Park, and both of those members will be from the neighborhood staff. It was explained that this decision is based on an algorithm used for PTR, pupil-teacher ratio. I'm here to ask you to change the algorithm to ensure equity for all students in our school. I understand that the board does not typically address staffing issues, but this issue is in direct contradiction to the school board's goals and guardrails, where it says that educational opportunities should be equitable for all students in the district. These are your words, these are your priorities, but the current policy of removing staff only from the neighborhood program obliterates that sense of equity. So what does this equity look like at Rogers Park for next year? It means that there will be a neighborhood kindergarten with 32 and an HG K1 with 12. It means that there will be a neighborhood third grade class with 38 and an HG third grade with 24. Last year, we really felt that you heard us and that you understood how the algorithm that's used undermines the neighborhood students. We were told that we might get one of those positions back, which we did. Unfortunately, it was returned so late in the year that it had to be filled with a long-term sub. And as you know, a long-term sub, it's a very different educational opportunity than an experienced teacher. They don't have the same PD. They don't have an opportunity for mentors or things like that. It is our hope that you will not just listen tonight, although you listen very politely. We hope that you will actually act to change this inequity for the neighborhood students at Rogers Park, but also throughout the district where there are dual programs. And leaving the problem until spring means that there will be more upheaval for staff and students that negatively impacts learning. If we're going to work together to make progress to meet the school board goals in both language arts and math, we cannot continue to make the classes with the highest needs bigger and bigger. Those large classes make it so that we cannot meet individual needs. And as you all know, the neighborhood classes have a larger number of students who are economically disadvantaged, and the research is clear that those students face other struggles that directly impact their learning. Honestly, I'm frustrated that I'm here again addressing the same issue, and we really implore you to make a change to the algorithm that is used for PTR in schools with multiple programs. We hope that you will let equity be a reality and not an aspiration. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call Irene Bowl up to the podium. Ms. Hayes, whenever you're ready.
All right. Thank you. My name is Kim Hayes, and I am a parent of 3 ASD students, an elementary, a middle school, and a high school. So suffice it to say, I'm a pretty busy mom, but I thought it was really important for me to come here tonight to share my perspective. I want to start out by thanking all of you for the good work that you're doing. First of all, related to working on lunchtime and recess time to make sure our kids are eating and moving, because we know nourishment and exercise are important to their learning. I want to say thank you for working on a bond that prioritizes safety, like our roofs. I think we've all been seeing what's happening to roofs that aren't being maintained and taken care of, so thank you for that. I want to say thank you for your advocacy on education funding in Juneau. I was really happy to see that resolution pass that supported an increase to the BSA. I want to reiterate that I appreciate the topics that you're focusing on to improve outcomes for our students. That's what a school board should do, and I'm proud of you all as members for focusing on that. Recently, unfortunately, some have attempted to sway your attention to issues that serve to simply distract from the good work that you're doing. A national movement to discriminate against very vulnerable students with a hyper focus on sex ed material has come to Alaska and to Anchorage. In response to this issue, I want to remind you that our schools serve to educate our students no matter who they are. In order to do so, students must feel safe and trust their educators. It is an unfortunate reality that many of our students live in dangerous homes or have parents who do not accept them for who they are. For those students who may be listening tonight, I want to say loudly that there's nothing wrong with you. You belong in our schools just as you are. Our LGBTQ students deserve the same safe and accepting school environment that others benefit from. I was so proud to hear from student advisory board members in Juneau, as well as students tonight, talking about their support of LGBTQ+ fellow students. Legislation in Juneau, like House Bill 105, which is in disguise as a parental rights bill, and attacks on our school libraries do absolutely nothing to further the cause of education and only put our educators in a position of endangering their students. In fact, requiring our educators to out students to parents is troubling to the educators I know, and even more troubling to the students I know. I have yet to meet one teacher that supports this concept and haven't heard from a single person on how exactly a policy like this aids in education of our students. What I do know is the teachers and of education support staff that I know are already mandatory reporters for abuse and neglect. creating a new type of reporting, this time directly to parents, and effectively lumping in sexuality or gender identity of students treats this as a negative or criminal situation, which being a member of the LGBTQ plus community is absolutely not. And there should not be a required report to anyone. Please don't let policies like this come to our school district. I urge the school board to pass a resolution in opposition to HB 105. I am a proud graduate of our public schools. I want my kids to have a great public school experience like I did. So please focus on what you guys have been doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hayes. I'd like to call Jennifer Wassanen. Ms. Bowe, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. And good evening. My name is Irene Bull, and I'm also a candidate for Anchorage School Board. Tonight, I came to emphasize the needs for teacher autonomy in our classrooms. While I will speak on that, in light of recent events, I also want to highlight the importance of fully supporting our LGBTQIA+ students. In your thoughts tonight, please keep in mind the needs and feelings of those students. We know, for teacher autonomy, we know that every ASD classroom and student is unique. And that means teachers require flexibility in their teaching methods. When teachers don't have that autonomy, they can't adapt their teaching style to meet the needs of their students, including students like my daughter. This results in worse learning outcomes and a more strained classroom environment. You can't teach from a script effectively. I see that fact reflected in my own child. She's been a kindergartner at Scenic Park since the beginning of the school year. While she enjoys the Chinese portion of her day, she states that she doesn't feel like she is learning anything in the English portion. Instead, her teacher gives an instruction that is basic kindergarten. As a child who entered kindergarten reading strong and even doing long addition and subtraction problems, she sees that herself and some of her friends are more advanced than the instruction allows for. She's stuck in a box. Meanwhile, at all levels of instruction, we know that children in the district sometimes enter the classroom ill-prepared for what the scripts expect of them. One of the most significant benefits of teacher autonomy is the ability to personalize instruction, tailoring their lessons to the specific needs and learning styles of their students. This approach ensures that every student receives the instruction they need to succeed and that no one is passed over. It encourages innovation and creativity. Our qualified educators use their education and experience to experiment with new approaches and techniques and develop innovative teaching strategies that improve student engagement and learning outcomes. It fosters a culture of continuous improvement where teachers can reflect on their practice and refine their teaching methods over time. Data shows that teacher autonomy leads to greater job satisfaction and retention. When teachers have a say in their work, in how they teach, they feel more invested in their work and are more likely to stay in the profession. This stability benefits students as they can develop strong relationships with their teachers over time, leading to better learning outcomes and increased student achievement. In short, teaching autonomy is critical to the success of our students and longevity of the teaching profession. By allowing teachers to personalize instruction, foster create.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Bowe. Right. Jennifer, whenever you're ready, you have 3 minutes. I'd like to ask Sarah Nicholson to come forward, please. And you made a friend. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I can start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Distinguished members of the Anchorage School Board, Superintendent Dr. Bryant, and ASD administration, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I am testifying tonight as a parent and a community member. I am here to testify in support of the Amped Up for Algebra and Geometry and Construction programs at Shigyak High School. My daughter Haley just testified in support of the Amped Up for Algebra program and Geometry and Construction. I also want to share a quick comment about the ASD's projected FTE for next year. This time last year, it was common for me to attend community events where the side conversations among the parents consisted of the following questions. Does your daughter have a tutor? Do you know of anyone who has a math tutor for my child? In fact, this time last year, I witnessed a coach ask her volleyball players, tell me something about yourself. I was expecting to hear the first player say something like, I love skiing North Face at Alyeska. But what I heard broke my heart. She said matter-of-factly to a group of girls and a coach she did not know, "I hate math." And she was a sophomore at the time. So fast forward, well, honestly, at that time, my daughter would have felt the same way as her fellow volleyball player. And fast forward to the school year, I now have a daughter who loves math. And she not only loves math, but she spends 2 class periods a day learning math. I have a brain crush, a Harvard researcher by the name of Tony Wagner, and he is an author of this book titled Creating Innovators, the Making of Young People Who Will Change the World, asserts it's important that we try to move out of the 19th century model of teaching and transition into our 21st dynamic world. We can't move into the 21st world if all we're doing is focusing on reading and math. We need to be teaching children how to create, build, work, and have quality conversations with peers and problem solve in order to create innovators. And reading and math needs to be taught in context. So hence, please continue to support Amped Up for Algebra, and please consider piloting the geometry and context at the Chugiak High School for the up and coming school year. Since Amped Up for Algebra was just piloted at Chugiak High School this current school year, I suspect we don't have a ton of data concerning student growth, such as their MAP scores. But honestly, what better assessment is there when you have a mom who has a freshman who is head over heels in love with math and cannot wait to attend her math every day. And she also loves her math. She loves her math teachers. So shout out to the math teachers at Chugiak High School. And at last, I just want to share that if by a miracle our legislatures agree to raise the student-based allocation rate, please use the money to increase the FTE for the up and coming school year. Please don't wait to use the funds for the following school year. There's a rumor. I currently know of 2 teachers who have been recently displaced. One teacher currently teaches an estimated 166 middle schoolers. I have to ask, who's going to teach the projected 160 middle schoolers coming up next year? We kind of need a teacher. Because I'm worried that we're now going to have 40 to 50 students in a classroom. In closing, thank you for positively impacting my daughter's learning by providing the Amped Up for Algebra program. Please help further support student learning by supporting the course titled Geometry and Context. And if possible, please increase the FTE for the 2023-24 school year. And again, thank you for supporting Spanish immersion, all the immersion, and thank you for supporting Gifted.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nicholson, whenever you're ready, our next one will be online after you, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, board members. My name is Sarah Nicholson, and I'm here on behalf of myself, my colleagues, and our students at Rogers Park Elementary. I am reading you the same letter I read last year, but with updated data that is even more disheartening. I've been a teacher at Rogers Park Elementary School for 21 years, and my already burdened colleagues and I are very concerned that our neighborhood program will be losing 2 teachers next year. If this happens, the current enrollment numbers indicate that this would mean an average class size of 31. Rogers Park is a dual program school. We house the neighborhood program as well as the highly gifted program, whose teachers are funded through the gifted budget. When allocating teachers to a building, the Anchorage School District uses a formula based on the total number of students enrolled in both programs. However, because the gifted program has a separate budget, when we lose teachers, they're always cut from the neighborhood program. How is this equitable? Currently, the highly gifted program has about 21 students in each classroom. For the 2023-2024 school year, the gifted program is not slated to lose any teachers, while the neighborhood program is slated to lose 2. How is this equitable, especially when 100% of the highly gifted students already meet Anchorage School District benchmark targets, while students in the neighborhood program who bring more challenges, diverse needs, and differing abilities to the classroom do not. Last year, the Director of Elementary Education stated that HG classes start with low class sizes because students continue to test into the program throughout the year. The neighborhood program also receives new students throughout the year. So again, how is this equitable? We've been shown an image of all students being able to look over a fence as the district's way of representing equity in our schools. At Rogers Park, cutting 2 teachers from the neighborhood program with no cuts to the HG program would mean that the neighborhood students would be peeking through the slats at the bottom of the fence, while the HG students would clearly see right over it. How does this make sense coming from a school board that promotes its belief in equity for all students? As we did last year, my colleagues and I again urge you to look closely at the formula for determining the pupil-teacher ratio for schools with dual programs. Each program should be looked at separately to ensure equity for all students. Reinstating our 2 teachers will make our classes more equitable, with an average of 25 students per class instead of 31. It's also important to remember that our neighborhood students include many who struggle, some with disabilities, some with emotional issues, and some with unstable lives at home. They all matter, and they all need and deserve an equal measure of your help and support. Please reinstate the 2 teachers slated to be cut from the neighborhood program now.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Stephanie Cornwell online. Is she there? Yes. Ms. Cornwell, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. You have 3 minutes, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm testifying tonight about the issues with family partnership, and what I have to say might seem counterintuitive for a parent that just really wants to see the amazing schooling experience that her kids are getting continue. But I am in full support of Dr. Bryant's proposal. I've interacted with APC as a parent, as an administrator statewide, as a teacher in Anchorage School District, and it has been full of drama. The drama has spurred the creation of 2 other charter schools breaking off and doing their own thing. I just spent, the first, 5:30, they spent 30 minutes not even able to figure out how to vote on their own agenda. This sort of dysfunction, which is the most dysfunctional governing body I've ever encountered in my 20-year career, it has to stop. And I think this proposal is smart. I think it is laid out really well, and I fully support it moving forward to get rid of the things that detract from kids and families, and moving forward, maybe even innovating in school choice and working together with the Anchorage School District and looking at other options to build upon all the good that does exist. The only caveat for me is that I really feel like it has to be intentionally planned from the get-go how staff and family and even student voices will be included, but in more of an in an authentic advisory capacity. That is essential. Those people, those entities are all integral in how family partnership does work and how the good has come to be built and continues. There's a lot there to be built on, and something has to change. And I thank the board for paying attention to this issue, for putting obviously thought into it, and for informing families very clearly and concisely. I really appreciate it. And there are a lot of us from all of those different stakeholder groups willing to work with the Anchorage School Board to ensure that this, I believe, our largest school continues to exist and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite David Boyle and Cameron Vincent Lang forward, please. Mr. Boyle, you will speak first. Thank you. Please introduce yourself then.
Good evening, President Bellamy, school board members. I'm David Boyle, and tonight I'm speaking for myself. First of all, I want to thank you all for your service. You have a very tough job to do, particularly with the budget. Anyway, tonight I was going to talk about equity, but then I saw that the superintendent proposed that the Family Partnership Charter School lose its charter and be converted to a so-called correspondence school. But maybe this is just what equity is about as well. The supposed reason for revoking the charter of family partnership is a dysfunctional academic policy committee and use of some religious vendors. The dysfunctional APC should be cured by the ASD and working with the academic policy committee of the family partnership versus sending in maybe the Alaska School Board Association. I think it can be fixed if you try hard enough. The family partnership is one of the best performing schools in the district. It's insane to revoke the charter of this school. Look at the results. Family partnership, 60% of the students are proficient in English language arts. In comparison, in the entire district, only 34% of the students are proficient in the same thing. In math, family partnership students are 40% at proficiency level. In the Anchorage School District, 27% of the students are proficient in math. Now let's look at the cost of educating a student at family partnership. This data, by the way, is from the Department of Education. Per student cost of family partnership, $10,446. On the same site, the ASD per student cost, $17,255. Nearly a difference, or rather more than $6,800 difference. This is what I would call the most cost-effective school in the district. You're getting great results for minimum cost. It's just insane to revoke the charter. Fix it. It's broke, I guarantee you. Maybe this is all about equity, bringing the better performing schools down to the low performing schools. I recommend that the superintendent analyze the lowest performing schools, determine the root cause, and either make substantial staff changes such as removing the principal for non-performance or closing these non-performing schools. The district does not have equity clauses in any of its collective bargaining contracts. Why not? Is the teachers union exempt from equity? Is the Teamsters union exempt from equity? I don't think so. You have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Finally, to quote Milton Friedman, the Nobel Prize winner for economics, quote, "A society that puts equality before freedom will get neither. A society that puts freedom before equality gets a high degree of both." That means a society that prioritizes quality over freedom never brings the people from the bottom up. It forces everyone down as low as possible. Thank you very much, and please reconsider.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. I'd like to invite Lisa Mounds-Craft to the front of the room. Lisa Mounds-Craft, if you're here, please come to the front. Mr. Vincent Lang, you're next.
All right. Thank you, board and Dr. Bryant. Charters should exist. I have served on a charter APC for several years. At its core, I respect board work, and I know how a board should function. I appreciate my charter's partnership with ASD. I appreciate board work that betters the learning outcomes of our students and work alongside our leadership to build a school that continues to thrive. We respect each other's roles and give each other the space to do our work to address the charter's mission. An APC and a principal need this balance for the daily work of student achievement to occur. It is in my opinion that the FPCS APC has failed to do this. As an APC member, I am frustrated at the time and energy ASD has put into this school over the past few years. Let me make it clear that my frustration is not with district admin or the school board, but rather FPCS's APC for needing unprecedented advisory supervision with little turnout on their end to improve. There are charters that follow ethics codes that have not been given the time they deserve from their partnership with ASD. When meetings occur for hours with little to no discussion on plans for improving student outcomes, then the FPCS APC is failing at its basic job. This is irresponsible. It is reckless. Their students and other ASD students deserve better. Charter schools, frankly, deserve a better reputation. A board that cannot put its students first needs to improve its conduct. The FPCS APC board has had ample opportunity to do this and has failed. A board that cannot utilize opportunities for growth and change should no longer exist as a governing board. Being a charter school comes with great opportunity and extremely large amounts of responsibility. Our district is lucky to have so many different charters, many of which provide strong opportunities for our students across Anchorage. Charters do, however, face an uphill battle with winning over the trust of the greater public as they do use public funds to form their budgets. Therefore, charters do have to play by the rules of the districts that they partnership with. If an APC or the school they work alongside are unable to do this, then that school should not function under its charter. Charter schools are public schools and FPCS is a public school. To the staff of FPCS, they work for ASD and must work with their principal to serve their students and school community. If staff are not able to do this, then they need to find another place to work. They are public employees and they work under the supervision of the principal. The FPCS APC has lost the trust of many in the public, including myself. This is unfortunate as the school is an ASD school that serves the public. At this point, I do think that FPCS would function better under the guidance of ASD. I believe your ASD students deserve better.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to invite Caleb Haley to the front. And Ms. Mounscraft, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, President Bellamy and esteemed board members. My name is Lisa Mounscraft, and I am the very, 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 very lucky principal of Save High School. It is March and St. Patrick's Day just passed, so I am doubly lucky. 2 weeks ago, several of our students and staff members sat before you to voice their concern and thoughts about next year's budget and how it will impact our school community. I can tell you that as I watched their testimony, the level of pride that I felt was absolutely immense, and my heart was full. As the students spoke, I had an aha moment. It was clear that they are living definitions of perseverance and determination, and they exhibit qualities of the 40 developmental assets. Now, highlighting a few of the identified internal qualities such as commitment to learning, a sense of purpose, high self-esteem, and a positive view of the future, it is evident that we are helping our students develop these skills, which are so crucial to becoming strong, caring adults, who in turn will have great influence in the various communities in which they represent. I would also venture to say that based on their testimony, students feel bonded to school and are able to identify multiple caring adults within our building. They showed extreme courage for sharing their values and beliefs with regards to their education. As for the amazing SAVE staff, I would like to highlight that they are exemplars of capturing kids' hearts, as they are highly skilled in building strong relationships, creating a positive and caring school climate, and they weave the Excel model into all that they do. I consider the SAVE teachers like rainbows in the sky for our students. I'd like to close by saying that SAVE is the best place in the world to work, but more importantly, it is a magical place to learn, where students find hope, a second chance, and a new beginning. We are Save High School, home of the Mountaineers, where the motto is, we care, and we always keep it classy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Rebecca Reagan McKeever to the front, please. And Mr. Haley, whenever you're ready.
Members of the ASD board, Dr. Bryant, good evening. My name is Caleb Haley. Please give me a chance to appeal to this board why I believe dissolution of the family partnership APC is a bad idea. A more detailed list of my research and conclusions are included in a letter that I sent to the ASD superintendent and the school board. I delivered that electronically last night. If you didn't receive that, I do have paper copies if you would allow me to give them to you, as well as anyone in the room that might want to read that. A very brief summary of my letter is in 5 points, and they are as follows. Point number 1, there's a discrepancy between the family partnership contract and Alaska statute. Alaska statute 14.03.255, subsection C12 states that the contract can be terminated for any, it can be terminated for other good cause. Note that word good. However, the contract itself of the family partnership states termination can be for any other cause. This is a stark difference, good versus any, and that gives the ASD unfounded authority in this case. Point number 2, a claim was made that the family partnership violated their contract. I found no basis for this claim. Further evidence is addressed in my letter. Point number 3, A claim was made accusing the APC of breaking several laws. Again, I found no basis for these claims, but rather a loose interpretation of Alaska's statute, again, further addressed in my letter. Interestingly enough, I learned that Family Partnership tried to get legal counsel, but was denied. That would have significantly helped in this matter. Point number 4, an ASD email states, we do not anticipate many changes, and the only significant change will be dissolving of the current governance board. I find this language vague, misleading, and non-binding on part of the ASD. Point number 5, currently Family Partnership is fiscally strong with a $4 million savings. The savings must be surrendered to the ASD if the APC is dissolved. Since the ASD is currently running a deficit in the tens of millions of dollars, I find dissolving the APC and taking possession of that $4 million to be a serious conflict of interest. In conclusion, I desire to educate my kids as I see fit. I know my children better than anyone in the world. I know where I can push them hard. I know where they need extra assistance. The ASD claims that they are no longer confident that Family Partnership is able to provide the best possible education decisions and experience. Quite frankly, I reject this claim outright, and I find it offensive. My wife and I are the only people in the world that have the ability to know what is the best possible education experience for our children. That's why we chose Family Partnership in its present capacity. I implore you to please keep it the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I need to remind the audience of the rules. There should be no applauding. So please, welcome. You may begin when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Regan McKeever. I am a mom of 5. I started school in 1998 at Family Partnership as a kindergartner, and I went on to graduate from Family Partnership. I now have chosen to homeschool my 2 soon-to-be 3 children in Family Partnership, and I was going to outline some of the reasons why I've chosen Family Partnership for my family. First and foremost is the freedom in curriculum. I myself have special education needs as a student, so do my children, and the freedom to choose a curriculum that fits their special education abilities allows them to flourish, where in a traditional classroom, they might be brought down to their lowest subject. As we know, the charter outlines that parents are allowed to have the freedom of choice in curriculum, and removing the charter does not guarantee us any rights to a choice in curriculum. The ability to choose my own sponsor teacher was also a reason to choose the school. As current events are showing, people have differences of opinions on how things work, and being able to choose a sponsor teacher allows for a creative and cooperative educational environment to be made for my students, as well as the commitment to parent direction and education. Again, we understand that removing of this board is a way to remove parents' voices from being reflected in the schools. As far as I can tell, the district presented FPCS with a letter, and it was less than 19 days later that they published a secondary letter. During those 19 days, we also went through spring break. Reasonable people understand that during spring break, members of our own board would probably have been on vacation and unable to make decisions or issue letters in response to the Anchorage School District's board. As we sit here today, it's simply been 21 days since the original letter was sent. Nonetheless, with 72 hours notice, as Donnelly had presented earlier, we sit here with a packed room to present a united front as parents to the commitment we've made as parents to this school to run it within the law and within the charter. I would ask that the school district please issue some form of corrective action plan to FPCS so that we could formally and quantitatively view the ability of the school to function within the law and the charter before it decides to make such a drastic change in its running. I would also like to say a concern as to disagreement has been brought up multiple times. In school, I was taught that disagreement should not be run from. In fact, we should bring to the table our disagreements so that we can work out our differences of opinions for the betterment of the entire community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite Robert DeBerry and David Vankara. I might have did it wrong, sorry. Whenever you're ready, Mr. DeBerry.
All right, I'm going to have to watch the feed too, so if I have to run back and turn it back on for some reason. My name is Robert DeBerry, and I'm an ASD employee until Friday of this week. My wife is 4 weeks into holding a teacher seat on the FPCS APC board. My family has been at FPCS for 7 years. I have one child graduated from FPCS, have 2 others currently enrolled. All of my children have had an incredibly amazing and wonderful experience at FPCS. Let me repeat that. All of my children have had a wonderful experience there. I am before you today because the recent letter from the superintendent of this district is very troubling and somewhat disingenuous that the administration would send a letter of this magnitude on a Friday afternoon at 4 p.m., 3 days before this board was to meet. When this district was considering closing schools that had 300 to 400 students, there were town halls, web pages produced, media interviews. Parents were provided time to ask questions and voice their opinions and concerns. But where FPCS is involved, a school with more than 1,500 students, we were afforded a 3-day window. We were caught off guard and only provided a single person to contact through email. The director of charter schools could not answer all of the questions that might arise from the superintendent's letter. Frankly, I question whether they would be answered fully. I also question the administration's claims to have investigated the APC and FPCS. If they truly had, the information being presented would be vastly different. When looking at the reasons for this hostile takeover of FPCS, one doesn't have to look far to see that the information the district is providing this board is not 100% factual. It contains a lot of misinformation and is very one-sided. I suggest you ask questions of the administration. Did you talk to the staff at FPCS? Did you reach out to any parents and students? Have you put forth the effort to sit down with the APC board and be part of the conversation? Have you been a good partner in moving forward with change? In February, ASD sent a very demanding letter to the current APC board threatening to take their charter. That letter was also approved and supported by this board. I question the fact that the administration has not given a reasonable amount of time for the APC to continue making positive change. I question that the director of charter schools and the administration chose to write a letter instead of having conversations with the current APC board. I hope this is not a smoke and mirrors move by ASD to create a state correspondence school to compete with IDEA. If this administration is using my children and the other 1,500 plus students as pawns, shame on you. Please don't blindly make decisions from single-sourced information. Be a partner with FPCS family, students, and staff.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to invite Sherry Stryzik. Mr. Venkara?
Yep.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you for the opportunity to shed some light into the superintendent's proposal to perform a takeover of family partnership. On behalf of, I'd like to also agree with Mr. Donnelly that this did not come out on Tuesday, came out Friday at 4 o'clock. Seems a little bit suspicious on the timing of that. But on behalf of the 50 other people that want to talk about keeping the school open that won't get a chance to talk because of the time, I want to speak on their behalf. My background, I'm a father of 8 graduates at Family Partnership with more and more to go. I have over 15 years at Family Partnership. Additionally, I was in the active duty military for 25 plus years, so I'm familiar with leadership, which brings me to my first of 3 points. Number 1, leadership. When an organization is in disarray with no correction to the course, the first step is to remove or replace the leadership. Tonight, the board, APC board, will vote on an unlikely renewal of the principal's contract, something in their responsibility as a board to perform. Through filibusters and politicking, ASD, demand letters, and unreasonable timelines, the delay to vote on this action is finally over. As leaders, you should appreciate this action to get FPCS back on track, which leads me to my second point. Politics. Hypothetically speaking, is it possible that the FPC principal has undermined the FPC APC and has been working closely with the ASD superintendent and his staff to paint a false narrative? Not embracing her leadership failures, she has put the blame squarely on the shoulders of volunteer parents who homeschool their children, people who have education as a priority, not politics. Hypothetically, Would it not also surprise me that the superintendent has promised a FPCS principal retention of her job for the price of betrayal? This is shameful. Finally, what is the purpose of the politicking and proposed takeover? FPCS is the largest school in the district with over 1,700 students. This growth was caused by your mask mandates, CRT policies, gender unicorns, and other curriculum policies not aligned with the parents of the children. Your threat is parents have a voice at FPCS over the curriculum and education of their children, not ASD's children or the government's children. Your action is to decide, this board is to decide over letting 1,700 students and parents have freedoms like our founders intended, or follow examples in less free nations. Prop 149, okay. Finally, it took 2 years to get started, 25 years to mature, and 2 weeks to dissolve. Does this not sound suspicious? Family partnership, as previously said, performed twice, almost 2 times better than the average of district students at less cost. ASD has a $48 million deficit. Family partnership is not to blame. No, they take less money with better results. As a board, are you willing to take family partnership money from a school that is successful? I would hope not. Thank you for giving me a hearing.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to invite Shad Chopert, please, with the applause. We have a lot of people wish to provide comment, and only 1 hour in the beginning, and everybody else will be at the end. Ms. Streisand, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you to the board for hearing me tonight. My name is Sherry Strezak. I'm a concerned parent and citizen of Chugach, Alaska. I am concerned about gender, trans, and victimhood. Books such as Beyond the Gender Binary and A Quick and Easy Guide to Queer and Transgender Identity, both available at Polaris, a K-12 school, and Jay's Gay Agenda, available at Bartlett High School, allow confusing and indoctrinating material to reach impressionable young minds. Another concerning concept is the acceptance of victimhood versus empowerment, such as The Lovely Bones, a book by Alice Seibold, which is available at Stellar and Hanshu Middle School. I will read an excerpt from this book. Take your clothes off, Mr. Harvey said. I want to check that you're still a virgin. I was soon lying down on the ground, in the ground, with him on top of me, panting and sweating, having lost his glasses in the struggle. I felt like a sea in which he stood and pissed and shat, excuse the language. He started working himself over me. He was inside me. He was grunting. I asked the board and parents and citizens, how does this material empower and encourage our children to feel confident in today's world? We all have the opportunity to empower our children. We need your help, the school board, in restricting damaging material from our school libraries and our beautiful children. I remind everyone that Alaska Statute 11.61.128, distribution of indecent material to minors, is a Class C felony. Material that depicts actual or simulated conduct such as sexual penetration, lewd touching of the genitals, anus, or female breast, masturbation, bestiality, lewd exhibition of genitals, anus, or female breast is a Class C felony. Please, we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Teresa Hines to the front. Mr. Chopert, whenever you're ready.
Hello, ASD School Board and Administration. My name is Shad Schobert. My family has been a part of FPCS going on 8 years, and I have been a member of the APC. I served on the APC between 2019 and September 2022, when the APC became such a toxic environment that my wife and I could no longer be a part of it. I assure you, Board Member 129 is entirely accurate. Just a little over a year ago in December 2021, I sat in this spot as the APC chair to advocate for the 10-year recharter of FPCS. I genuinely believed at the time that the APC had addressed the multiple historical APC issues and had a leadership team in place to stay on the right track moving forward. Now I'm very sad to sit in front of you again, having to very reluctantly support the proposed elimination of the FPCS charter. Let me be clear. It is understood that the APC has been challenging for longer than I have been associated with FPCS. Two other ASD schools have their origins in the FPCS-APC dysfunction. Over the years, the APC has received several ASD memos detailing different violations and infractions. Over the last 6 months, however, the APC has become exponentially dysfunctional and divided. In fact, while I sit here, the APC is trying to figure out if a new APC member with less than 2 weeks on the job can discuss and vote on our principal's review from last year. As recent as yesterday's emergency meeting, the APC members proposed motions that included, quote, issuing updated responses to the ASD notice and demand letter that give direct answers to all of the questions with our responses to ASD Memo 129. And then a second motion that the APC chair send a letter to ASD where the FPCS-APC agrees with and takes full accountability for all of the items referenced in the demand letter and ASD board memo, and then subsequently resign. Both motions were not passed. The latter wasn't even discussed. Bottom line is that the APC refuses to take accountability for any of their actions. They refuse to accept any responsibility for their actions. The APC has not done much business that helps or affects our families and ultimately our students. The APC is instead focused on adult issues while ignoring things that affect our children to the detriment of our school operation. Unfortunately, it is time for ASD to step in and resolve these issues. We have to get to helping our kids and families. We have to refocus and reformulate FPCS. I wish this could have been avoided, but I no longer believe there is any hope for the APC. There are parents ready and willing to help reformulate a collaborative advisory council, as previously mentioned in the public comment. We look forward to partnering with ASD administration in this new venture.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hines, and then Lael Anderson, you may come forward. Welcome, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Teresa Hinsey.
Hinsey, thank you.
I am a teacher at Family Partnership, and I have been with the Anchorage School District for over 20 years. I would like to address the action being suggested to remove Family Partnership's charter. FPCS received notification of this action on Friday afternoon. When ASD was discussing closing schools throughout the district, there were months of town hall meetings. We were given less than 3 days notice with no opportunity to have a discussion. I would also like to point out that FPCS has been a strong charter school in ASD for 25 years. While the people making the decision to remove the charter have been in their position for less than 1 year. How can a decision of this magnitude be made with so little information? There has been a single narrative about the functioning of the board. No one from ASD has approached our school's APC board to discuss the issues that are plaguing the school. No one has sat down with the board as a whole to go over the strategy the board is trying to implement to make things run better. Not one question has been asked and no research has been done. The board is finally starting to move in a positive direction and is diligently trying to address all issues that have been causing problems. At this juncture, we need the help and support of ASD, not a punishment that will not resolve anything. FPCS has continued to serve their students and families through this trying time with the utmost professionalism and diligence. Our students are thriving. Please do not continue down this road without further research and information, and without the opportunity for FPCS and their stakeholders to have a voice and to do better, which is what this veteran charter school of 25 years deserves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lael and Robin, is it Peckrell? Peckrell? I'm sorry. Peckrell, thank you. You may start whenever you're ready. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Lael Anderson, and I'm a parent with Family Partnership Charter School. 4 of my children have graduated from FPCS, and my 2 youngest children are currently enrolled. I have taught classes as a vendor with Family Partnership, and several years ago, I had the opportunity to serve as a member of the Academic Policy Committee. I am here to respectfully request that the charter for Family Partnership be allowed to remain in place and that the APC board be allowed to continue as they are. I have spoken with members of the APC. I have attended or observed many of their meetings, and I have read all available letters and material, including the charter. Revoking our charter would be a grave disservice to our families and students. FPCS has served students in the Anchorage School District for 25 years, and my family has been a part of the school for many of those years. My children have thrived in this unique educational setting, as have the children of my siblings, the children of my friends, the students in my classes, and hundreds more that I do not know personally, but whose stories I have heard and whose graduations I have attended over many years. I am confident that I do not speak for myself only when I say that FPCS forged a path that has allowed homeschooling families to provide outstanding educations for individual students while providing invaluable teacher guidance and treasured community support. To destroy the charter of this school at this time, after so many years of student success, would be a travesty. And make no mistake, removing the charter and designating the school as a correspondence school will not leave the school unchanged. It will fundamentally undermine our abilities as homeschooling parents to create a unique, successful educational journey for each child in partnership with ASD. With the charter and APC in place, parents have a direct voice in the governance of our school with seats on the board of the APC. We have a choice of sponsor teachers, and we have freedom to choose the best curriculum for our individual children. Students also have a direct voice in the governance of their school with 2 seats on the board of the APC. These privileges and responsibilities will be removed if the charter is revoked. My son, a graduate of FPCS, recently served as a student intern with a Utah state legislator. My son was able to provide the legislator and other policymakers with information about FPCS. There was a lot of interest and a great desire to learn more about how our unique charter school has been so successful for our students and families for so many years. Our school is a model of success that many interested parties are watching. So why is the district ready to so quickly destroy what has been working so well? Our APC has put a plan in place to address every concern the district put forth. We deserve enough time.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Okay, Ms. Pectrell, whenever you're ready.
It's Swiss German, so it's pause and papa and cruel, so pacruel.
Pacruel. Pacruel. Thank you.
Almost got it. Good evening. Before I begin, I just have to say this to you. I never before realized how one-sided this is. This is probably my 4th board meeting, and we come and we speak, and the parents want you to listen, and nothing happens. And I was wondering about a situation whereby we write questions, and at the board meeting, we allow for some time for you to answer our questions, because I'm not thinking that you're responding to us. Yes, you're listening, but I'm not thinking you're listening and responding. So listen and response, perhaps maybe a form of question and answer period so that some of these people could get their questions answered on the spot. Okay, here's what I came to talk about. I want to talk about the book called Lawn Boy. Not the pornographic, unfunny, trashy one, but the one by Gary Paulson. The Challenged Book Committee, somewhere on their website, asks the challenger, what book would you recommend instead? I would recommend Gary Paulson. And my thinking is kids at 8 are just too young to read about gender confusion with a twist of pronoun anxiety. They really don't give a darn about hormone therapy and gender reassignment surgery. Kids want, and especially now, crave humor. That's Gary Paulson, who, by the way, splits his time between the lower 48 and Alaska. The Anchorage School District has lots of lawn boys in their libraries, and they have lots of Gary Paulson as well. Good job, Anchorage librarians at all levels. And for what it's worth, because this great nation is eventually going to need entrepreneurs, when we get out of this economic slump, why not promote books that help kids with summer employment? This would also be a great time to help the elderly and the infirmed. What a spark of joy kids could bring to the community. Could we please, please, please toss out those class sets and materials connected to George, Melissa? Maybe the books could be held by counselors, and librarians could invite kids who need them to a special collection. But they are not for the general ed kids.
Thank you very much. Your time is over. This concludes our first hour of testimony. We will take a brief 5-minute break. Return to the room at, looks like 8:05. We'll go with 8:05.
Finish up the testimony now. Invite you.
I would support it.
Yeah. I'll run that up.
Okay. Yeah.
We'd like to welcome everyone back. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. We are now at item E. Unless, sorry. Member Higgins. No. So maybe he can use your mic, Member Jacobs.
Yeah, they're not working.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, it's operator incompetence. Sorry about that. Madam Chair, I'd like to propose that we extend the open session for the speakers to come forward. The ones that are already on the list, let's not extend it anymore. But they've been here all afternoon. They've come here special for this, and I'd like to recognize and appreciate that. And I know it's going to put things back a little bit further, but it's whether it's at the end or it's now, we still have that time. And I just think it would be a respectful thing to do.
Madam President, I'll second.
All right. You have before you, is there any opposition to continuing public comment? We have 23 more voices to hear. Seeing no opposition, we will continue. Laura Smith, Christy Moorhead, can you come forward, please? And I don't think I mispronounced your names, but if I do, please state it again for the record. And you have 3
Laura
minutes.
Smith.
Laura, you go first. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Laura Smith, and I've been a homeschooling educator for over 12 years with 4 kids through the school. First, I would like to say I was furious to read the email on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock during spring break that my school was going to be changed from a charter school to a correspondence school. I feel like that was very underhanded and done on purpose, including the fact that there was no text message with it, which all important communication from the district comes with a text message. None of that was done. I feel like it was to keep us parents from paying attention. But as you can see, many of us are paying attention on this very short notice. The letter was full of platitudes that nothing would change about our school and that except the name. However, we all know that the most important thing about family partnership will change, and that would be the fact that we have a partnership between the parents and ASD, and that will change. The APC is what represents that, and if we dissolve that, then we do not have a partnership between parents and ASD. I chose family partnership years ago to educate my children because of this partnership. I come from a long history of public educators, both in the state of, across the state of Alaska and in the Anchorage School District. I believe wholeheartedly that the public education should be supported and available to all children. I personally chose to homeschool my children through family partnership. I'm aware that there has been conflict in the APC with the school administration and with some of the members. I'm not alarmed by this. In fact, I am not surprised at all. It is a gathering of passionate people, both the administrators and the parents, about something that's very important, the education of our children. There should be conflict. There should be trouble. There should be conversations that they work towards they find an agreement. The APC is what makes family partnership special. It shines in our state and, as other people have mentioned, even shines across our nation as a model that is worth repeating and not shutting down. I also read through the 7-page letter that was submitted to you for the reasons for dissolving. And I can tell you that as a parent, I am not concerned about the things that were listed, and it does not affect my children's education. As I read through that, I'm aware of almost all of the conflict that was mentioned. Some of it was made much larger than it was and is very misleading. For example, it cites that there's a conflict because there's a parent and a student on the board at the same time. But what has happened, and that might be on some boards a problem, but for family partnership, that has happened regularly through the years because it's a parent, child, administrative, and staff partnership. If you value what family partnership has brought to the table of educational choices in our state and the role as invested parents, then you cannot vote to dissolve our charter. It is clear by this turnout that we do not want to resolve. It is clear by the APC, by their demonstration, they're willing to work with the district, that they do not want to resolve. As a homeschool educator, I have many choices in Alaska as how to educate my kids. And I can tell you that if this becomes a correspondence school rather than a charter where the parents are represented.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Christy Moorhead. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I am here to represent Family Partnership. My background is not in education, and I just want to say that I love the Anchorage School District. I love being here in Alaska. We've been here 20 years. I have 4 kids that have been through the programs. We started out just at our local Huffman Elementary with Principal Fitz. It was an amazing experience. My daughter tested into the highly gifted at Rogers Park. We did Golden View, we did South High. We've loved our experience. We did Winterberry, we've done Paideia. The reason that we went to Family Partnership had to do with my daughter's health concerns. She ended up with a physical disability that wouldn't allow her to attend school. We tried Paideia, it was not a good fit. We tried some other homeschool options, again, not a good fit. I was at my wit's end. I run a small business and I am not an educator and I'm not interested in homeschooling my children. And so I got a call from a friend that said, call Heather DeBerry, Family Partnership. I didn't know anything about Family Partnership, but Heather saved my life because she was the answer. I don't know how or why Family Partnership works or doesn't work, but I can tell you it's worked for our family. It's been an amazing program. My daughter is a successful college student at this time, graduated through Family Partnership. My 3 other children also are just part of the mainstream ASD system. My second child is a downhill ski racer. She also transferred over after trying middle college. It wasn't a good fit with her schedule. She's also a Family Partnership. My other 2 are at South, and I still have one at Huffman. My point is, I don't know what happens in the board meetings. I've never attended one. I don't know the passion of the parents or why they're not getting along or what's happening, but I can tell you the system works. Heather DeBerry is amazing. The teacher representatives there are amazing. And I hope there's a way that we can keep the charter because it's needed. I've tried 9 different programs for my daughter here in Anchorage, and I was the only one that worked. And she's a smart kid. It's just a really good fit for parents that need something different. So thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do. I do love the school district. I think you're all awesome. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Gabby, is it Ide and Christine Larson? Please come forward and please state your name again, just in case I mispronounced it. Gabby, you will go first.
Good evening. I'm Gabby Ide. I work full time and I homeschool full time. I have an 8th grader, a 6th grader, and a kindergartner. I am very busy. They are all enrolled full time at Family Partnership Charter School. Our family loves FPCS because we can customize every aspect of curriculum, capturing the interest and nurturing the creativity of each of our unique kids. We can choose our sponsor teacher. Our children can learn in a way that best suits them. Our family enjoys reading high-level literature together, creating special moments and sweet memories around wonderful stories, history, and poetry. We have just as much passion and fun with math. Their experience has and remains entirely positive. The results of this type of education is that my children test 30 to 50 points higher than their ASD peers, their state peers, their national peers. Although, should the charter be dissolved, we will not remain with ASD. In order to preserve this success, we're happy to go. I do not defend the past individuals within the APC, one of which testified tonight and had to step down from the chair. I don't defend the past individuals on the APC or the staff that broke trust. But should you decide to take the current APC up on their invitation to meet, you will find that dissolving the APC would be cutting your nose off to spite your face. ASD administration recommendation is short-sighted. It's baseless. It's inflammatory. FPCS was deemed the future of education a few short years ago by your predecessor. She also changed her recommendation from a 5-year to a 10-year charter shortly before this board voted to sustain the 10-year charter. I know because I was here, and so were many of you. FPCS students are achieving nearly twice the results, as you already heard. Many of the arguments that were presented in the letter were taken apart. None of the individuals on the board currently have been asked for their testimony in regards to the grievances brought before them, and they have not had a chance to defend themselves. So I ask you to give them the time that they deserve to show you that this charter remains to stay in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christine, whenever you're ready.
Thank you for giving me the chance to speak tonight. My name is Christine Larson, and I'm here to support the Family Partnership Charter. I have 4 kids that span elementary, middle, and high school, and I'm here to tell you how Family Partnership has changed my life and the life of my kids. I'm a certified teacher and have taught in many different states, and I never ever saw myself homeschooling my own kids. I just didn't think it was a possibility. Then I saw my oldest starting to really struggle in school and keep up, and I knew there had to be a better way to meet her needs. So I started looking around, and we found Family Partnership, and I pulled her that year, and it was an amazing experience. I learned for the first time that I can meet her where she was, and I could choose curriculum that met her needs and that was a good fit for her. And now all 4 of my kids are homeschooling, and they're thriving because we have the choice to choose their own curriculum. And I have the power to choose classes and activities that suit their talents and their learning abilities. So currently, parents have the chance to also choose their sponsor teacher, which would change if the charter was dissolved. My sponsor teacher is amazing and has really helped lead us through our learning journey, and having the chance to being able to choose a different sponsor teacher every year if we need to really helps to individualize our education. The allotment we receive now as part of Family Partnership Charter helps us to afford wonderful classes and activities that, again, we as parents have the power to choose, because no one knows what's best for my kid more than me. Dissolving the Family Partnership Charter would negatively affect more than 1,500 families just like mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Eurisha Hardy and Kimberly Wilcox. Welcome. You have 3 minutes each.
Hi, my name is Eurisha Hardy. My daughter Skylar spoke earlier on behalf of Family Partnership Charter School. In addition, I have 2 other students in the program. I first would like to bring to the board's attention that the FPCS principal is not in attendance tonight. Why are we discussing the closure of a school and the principal is not here to advocate for the school? Because there's a different agenda and she wants the chartership terminated, for which she'll be rewarded. In addition, the Family Partnership Charter School principal was notified on Tuesday last week about this meeting and did not notify the sponsor teachers at Family Partnership until Friday at 4 p.m. And consequently, all the parents weren't notified until this weekend of spring break. And we all have lots of children. So you know that we were not prepared for this meeting because we didn't find out until very late in the game. FPCS should not have their chartership revoked and become a correspondence school under the administration of the district. The students benefit in so many ways from Family Partnership Charter School, as we get a say in our curriculum choice, how to use our allotments to better the students' education, and how to schedule our children's education. Being able to exercise our choice as parents and students is what has led to the significantly higher performance standards that we have consistently shown for 25 years. In addition, a parent board-governed school will always have the best interests of the students at heart, and their decisions will not be motivated by an enormous budget deficit. It is ironic that the closure of FPCS, a school that is operating with a significant budget surplus, is on the chopping block, while ASD is grasping for any funds in order to alleviate their massive deficit. The allotment per student will go to wherever ASD sees a need, and the students will be last on that list. Maybe irony is not the correct word. It seems more negligent or criminal that ASD gave parents such a short notice for us to respond to this letter. We heard about prior schools subject to closure all over the news, and it was an ongoing 3-month conversation. I was notified this weekend. I appreciate the gentleman earlier who spoke stating that the parents are not motivated by politics, nor are we motivated or responsible for a mismanaged ASD budget. By terminating FPCS's charter, you are punishing students who have been performing at a higher standard than district-managed schools. It is shameful that this is even a consideration to punish students who are performing at this level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kimberly, whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Kim Wilcox. My 8 children and I have been with Family Partnership Charter School since 1998. My youngest is currently enrolled as a junior with Family Partnership. Typical of any organization, through the past 25 years, Family Partnership has had issues that have come up, and through input of parents, students, and the governing boards, we've been able to achieve our ultimate goal of educating our children, and in doing it in the way that we choose. That's why Family Partnership Charter School has an enrollment of over 1,500 students. We love the opportunity to educate our children in the way we choose, and it has absolutely worked for my children over the past 24 years. I am dismayed and disheartened to hear that ASD would take away our charter, do away with our academic policy committee, and assume control over a school that has been so successful in educating thousands of students. This is not the way to deal with problems, and it's a terrible example to our students on problem solving. Issues will always come up. We deal with them and move on. Conflict is not a reason to dissolve a successful organization. Taking away the students' and families' choice of education, not because educational goals or fiscal standards aren't being met, but due to problems with administration, is unacceptable. Last Friday, I received this same email from Superintendent Bryan stating, recently actions of APC members have negatively affected the student experience. The Anchorage School District is no longer confident that the FPCS APC is able to provide the best possible educational decisions and experience for their students and family. I would like to know how students have been negatively affected. These are unsubstantiated claims. I would also argue that ASD's lack of confidence in Family Partnerships APC is totally unfounded. When the APC was asked to respond to ASD's February 13th letter, they did so, addressing all points of inquiry, along with a plan going forward. After 25 years, why the sudden lack of confidence to the point that you would take away our charter? The ASD brick and mortar educational track record is failing by most measures, and you want to exert more control over this successful charter. If that happens, the result will be that you will lose more ASD students to IDEA and other non-ASD homeschool options. As a homeschool mother of 8 who has been part of Family Partnership Charter School since its inception, I strongly urge you to do away with your recommendation to drop Family Partnerships Charter and allow them and us to continue to provide opportunities for quality education with our APC governing board. Oh, and Dr. Bryant, we are on the same page when it comes to inclusion. Our children have chosen Family Partnership as their mode of education, and taking away this charter will actually exclude these students from their choice of education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Karen Owen. And Jennifer, I can't read your last name, Jennifer. Oh, wages. Welcome. Whenever you're ready, Karen, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Karen Owens. I'm a mother of 7. I have 6 students currently with Family Partnership, and we've been with Family Partnership for about 6 years. I so loved the school that actually became a part-time employee this year. So my comments will be from both the parent side and from the teacher side. Family Partnership is a huge success. It's the kind of school that needs to be duplicated. We're bursting at the seams. We have, I believe it's close to 1,800 students on our lottery right now. We'll have about 100 openings. We have over 450 people applying for those openings. The families like the school the way it is.
Most people disengage from politics. I don't really know all the politics. I've only started recently watching our APC. Most people just want to educate their kids. They're happy. We're a shining star. That's why I brought my kids. That's what my parents tell me. When I got calls over the weekend, parents in tears saying, I'm happy. I want to lottery my kindergartner in. We don't have another choice if we don't get into family partnership. First, they were worried about getting in. Now they're worried about the school not existing as they know it. They don't see another ASD choice. You'll lose people. They won't find another ASD home. They'll go to IDEA. They'll go to Matsu Central. This is a special niche school. People are happy. They're running. We're bursting at the seams. Don't fundamentally change it. I ask you that as a parent. I ask you that as a teacher. We're really special. Come and talk to our board. Find out what's going on. Make sure you're getting all sides, but don't be rash. We've got a really good thing. Please don't change it quickly. I just want to reiterate what many people have said. There have been community forums about other schools that might close. I've known about the politics for a little while, but to change it so quickly is not fair to the kids. We're the biggest school you have. 1,800 kids. It's a lot of families. And we don't land here by choice. It's not a geographical boundary. We lottery to get in. We've chosen this school. We want this school. We want it the way it is. We want the APC to get along, but please find out first what's happening. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Jennifer? I want to say thank you to all of you guys for what you do. And I'm here on behalf of Family Partnership. And we didn't start off as a homeschooling family. My story is I never wanted to homeschool my kids. I thought they were strange, all of those things, like pretty much the typical, what like most people educated in our educational system thought. And then I had my first child who did not fit in the box. Then my first child had a traumatic brain injury. I have a gifted child with a traumatic brain injury. Like, this is not a good situation. He has younger siblings. I've got to figure out what to do with him. He's going to one school, Bayshore. They did a lot. Like, my child sat in his school and he read out of defiance. And so that child learned how to read, which was amazing. I was so glad that that teacher didn't force him to stay on track with sitting there filling out the sheets of paper of things that he already knew, that he got to sit there and read and learn, which is amazing. And then he goes to Rogers Park, the highly gifted program. He has like the teacher that is like that has like all the stuff, right? Like he literally did the thing where he like teaches the kids how to use alternative technology. I was like, there's no way I can do better than this. COVID happens and like we have this shutdown, and I am like literally shaking as I'm talking about this. I was like, this is the worst thing that has happened to me. You know, I was just like, this is going to be terrible. But I had a friend who was like, here, you know, you can homeschool, because my child was not going to sit there on a screen. He was like, oh, I can pretend the internet went out. I can say that there's no class. You know, I've got a toddler who's running in the background. I can't learn this thing to learn how to teach my kid. Anyway, so we go to Family Partnership and I have a recommendation through a friend. So this is not just like randomly showing up. This is like word of mouth recommendation. I get to choose my sponsor teacher. This sponsor teacher empowered me to teach my children, showed me all of the things. This is a homeschooling charter school, which I thought was amazing that ASD would have such a thing to be able to support my child who is different. Like, twice exceptional is not a fun place to be as a parent. It's hard. They're marginalized. They don't fit the mold. Like, yes, he can do calculus level stuff at 12 years old, but could he sit in an AP class? Probably not. Could he pass the test? Probably so. Like, he's a different kid. Okay. Like, you have a unique place where you can keep kids in ASD with homeschooling parents who can talk to a homeschooling board with people who can mentor, and like, you can find a place for them. Please don't take 25 years worth of something that is really amazing because you have this infighting and this struggle. Like, you've got to find a better way. Start another school, split it, make 2 schools, make a correspondence school, and keep the charter. Do anything, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
we'd like to invite, now I can't read the last, I think it's Dean Franks, something with an F. I'm sorry if I'm not reading that correctly. Belton Johnston. Welcome. Please restate your name for the record. And your first, Dean.
Hello, my name is Dean France. I'm a parent of 3 boys who currently attend Family Partnership School. Excuse me, only one of my boys attends them as they're rather young to be attending school right now. So I have 2 points I'd like to talk about. Dissolving the school seems like a rather rash idea. I'm sure you've all heard this tonight. There is a huge community of parents and children that attend this school. And as the data shows, it costs less money and you have better schooling, smarter kids as a result. I think it's rather silly to dissolve something that works so well. The second point I'd like to bring up, and this is the reason why I don't want my kids to attend school, is some of the books that are being held in libraries at schools disgust me, and I would never read them to my children, ever. And they range in all kinds of explicit materials that I don't think any child should ever get a hold of. It seems, now I know there is a way to put these books on a list to get looked at, inspected, and hopefully removed from the library. That list seems to take too long. Having access to this material really downplays the innocence of a child. So I would hope that we can have some sort of resolution as to why we have such odd, disgusting books in our school libraries. And as a result of this is why my children go to Family Partnership, which is a great school. So I would hope that you guys make a great decision and not dissolve the charter of the schooling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnston, whenever you're ready.
And I want to thank you guys for being here and for letting us voice our opinions. You know, we live in America, and that's what America is about. And so I thank you. And I have 2 kids in the Anchorage School District, and they're teenagers now. And so they're in junior high and high school, going into and getting ready to further their education. And then it was brought to me that I too have seen some of these books that are and you know, I'm 65 years old, folks. I've been around the block. I've seen school boards come and go. And I know you have the hardest job in the world, nearly, of directing, but you guys have to take a firm stand on these and get rid of these things, or you're going to lose a lot more people. They are offensive. My kids do not need to see these. They are they're suggestive. They are, and they're putting them in comic format, which kids love, and that's what has got to stop. And so I just implore you to look at what is being got by the librarians. Look, you know, this is part of your job, and each one of you would not read these kids to your kids or your grandkids. You wouldn't read them, and I don't believe you would anyway. But anyway, it has got to stop, because this is what is corrupting our youth. And you guys have seen this everywhere, and I've seen it, that the youth here in Alaska need our help and not to hurt them. And there's a lot of them that they take this material and then they read it and then they act upon it. And where they would not even dream about doing that until they get it put in their face. And so I want to ask you again to get rid of it. It's wrong. One of them is heroin, and one of them is This One Summer. And these things are sickening. They are, and the thing is, I don't know that you couldn't bring a suit against the school because they are that disgusting. And that's something that maybe have to be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to invite Jesse. I cannot read your writing. Jesse, something that looks like Thacker. Jolene Udick. Jolene. Please state your name. And you have 3 minutes.
My name is Jesse Thacker. I am a graduate of Bartlett and the Anchorage school system. To be honest with you, I found my personal experience there to be caustic, unengaging, and I couldn't wait to leave. Really not an enjoyable experience. 3 of my teachers were accused, 2 convicted of sexual crimes against the minors were there. My music teacher, my biology teacher, and everybody knows Satch Carlson, who was acquitted. That was my experience in high school. The assault to my nature, the assault to not liking America. There was many things like that. So I didn't come to speak on family partnership. I didn't even know there was a meeting on it. That's how well your memo was distributed until I just realized now, like as a father who works 80, sometimes more hours a week, that my kids actually went through family partnership. We made it a point around 10th grade to put our kids in the public school system. My daughter, Sophia Thacker, took all AP classes. She was East's student body president, graduated. That's how well they do at family partnership. Okay. So after hearing this, and look, I know politics. I know how things work. I've been part of several committees. I was in the military. Okay. Personally, here's 2 things that would stand out to me. And this is obvious as daylight. Number 1, okay, by eliminating these, I put 1,600 students at $17,000 a piece. That's 27.2 million that goes back into the school district budget. Plus you take their $4 million. That's 31.2. Do the math. Not very complicated to give a 4-day notice or a 3-day notice. And honestly, looking back at the majority of the families there, they're Christian families. Let's just deal with the elephant in the room. You know, it's an assault on Christianity in Anchorage. Nobody's willing to say it. So, I go to church. I can tell you what, you're talking about the material in school. I was a personal product of the indoctrination. What saved my life, literally saved my life, was the United States military, because I grew up loving America. You know, America is the home of the free and the brave, and we raise men and women of virtue. I was taught to be virtuous, kind to all people. I learned that overseas. My parents would have punished me severely had I been nasty to anybody, regardless of their personal life choices. They would always tell me, boy, you don't know the story. You know, you need to watch your tongue. You know, until you walk a mile in that person's shoes. So we were taught dignity and respect. That was back in the 80s. This process of we must eliminate these private schools because they are teaching rhetoric or heresy or unacceptance. Well, I find it odd. You know, Karl Marx said it best. Accuse others of what you do to them. Well, I can tell you now the policies which we continue to institute sure sound like, taste like, and feel like not socialism, hardcore communism. If you haven't read you haven't read much into communism, we are on a fast trail to it, which is directly against American policy. So support the charter school, support America.
Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Udick.
Good evening, guys. My name is Jolene Udick, and I'm a parent at Family Partnership Charter School. Attending public school ourselves in Anchorage, we knew that we wanted a different educational plan for our 4 children. So we chose FPCS because of the freedom of curriculum and the ability to tailor make the needs for each one of our children. In 2007, we joined FPCS and have been able to see our school grow like exponentially, not only in enrollment, but also in the flexibility and the ease of using the program. I'm certain that without the checks and balances of our current system of representation in the APC, that FPCS will most assuredly fall into the same budgetary problems and overreaching control that comes from being detached from the students and families that use our program. Our APC has done a wonderful job in financial management of the school at a time when the majority of governmental bodies have increased spending to the detriment of the stakeholders. Please leave the charter of FPCS in place and give FPCS time to adequately adjust to the monumental growth that the school has had due to the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite Hannah Udick and Amy Sims. Please state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Hannah and I'm a graduate of Family Partnership Charter School. I attended and was very involved in FPCS from kindergarten through senior year, and I continue to be involved by volunteering with our student government. I also feel that I have a unique view of this as I was actually a member of our APC board for my sophomore, junior, and senior years. As the only school in the state and one of few in the country which allows their student representative to have full voting rights on a board which manages a multi-million-dollar budget, I can say that while I served as a student, my voice and my vote was completely equal to that of the parents and teachers on the board. This is just one of many unique aspects of FPCS that will be lost should you revoke our charter. While I graduated in 2020, I still say our because I love our school. Because of FPCS, I will be graduating from UAA this May with my bachelor's degree in political science a year early and completely debt-free. While I recognize that there have certainly been personal issues between some board members who have conducted themselves in an unprofessional manner, I would ask that if anything, disciplinary action be taken against those specific members of our APC. Please don't punish the other 1,700 people in our school by revoking our charter, which will undeniably harm our students and ultimately hurt ASD, as many of these students will certainly look outside the district for their education. I know the letter sent to this board by this board to ours is trying to say that not much will change. That just isn't true. By removing our charter, you would fundamentally be changing our school and cause irrevocable damage. I can assure you that these parents, teachers, and students sitting behind me who have taken time out of their busy week to show up in support of our school will not stand for it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Ms. Sims, whenever you're ready.
My name is Amy Sims. I have been a teacher with ASD for 23 years and been a teacher parent with Family Partnership for 18. My 2 oldest sons graduated from Family Partnership. My oldest is currently serving in the Space Force as a satellite subsystem engineer, and my second oldest is serving in the Navy as a hospital corpsman. I have a sophomore and junior enrolled in FPCS. The school has been invaluable for our family. As a parent and a teacher at FPCS, I have hundreds of examples of why Family Partnership is best served to continue as a parent-directed charter school. I want to share a very personal reason with you this evening. We met our youngest adopted son when he entered my small group classroom with Family Partnership at the age of 6. He was in therapeutic foster care and had already been dismissed from both the ASD preschool program and his kindergarten neighborhood school. His previous foster parents decided to try homeschooling through Family Partnership. Unfortunately, he lost his foster care placement while he was in my first grade class, and our family immediately began pursuing our foster care license. By the time he came to live with us, he was back in the neighborhood school. I was at the school a few times a week because of his difficulty in the classroom. We thought an ASD alternative program might be better for him. We entered the lottery and he was placed at a brick and mortar alternative school. That was a disaster for him. He ended up at Mount Eliamna for 2 years until its closure. Our family's saving grace was when he was placed in Miss McCawa's SBBS classroom at Baxter Elementary. She and her team helped my son and our family so much over the next 2 years. Then came middle school. He was placed in the general education and accelerated classrooms. He did okay, but was having difficulty socially and falling behind with the amount of coursework. I was constantly meeting with his counselor and IEP team and teachers to figure out how best to help him. Then COVID happened and everyone came home. I found that our being together as a family, taking the pressure off him to perform at the pace of his neurotypical classmates and the ability to focus on his social and emotional learning, he not only did better academically, but he thrived socially and emotionally. He is now a high school sophomore. Last year, when he took the MAP assessment, he scored in the 95th percentile and 98th percentile in both math and reading. He is a smart kid and needed a different way to learn than the traditional classroom. He is now participating in homeschool courses with me, small group taught classes, and a King Tech class. The unique way Family Partnership has been structured as a charter school and the flexibility it affords students is what is best for our students and families. Please do not revoke our school's charter, but work with all our APC to best function within the charter, and the state agreed was a good contract with our school. Help Family Partnership Charter School continue to be a place where students achieve their goals and aspirations. ASD has a wide range of educational opportunities within our district to best fit the needs of a vast population. Please do not eliminate one where my son has not only progressed, but has beaten the odds.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Nikki Rose and Andrea Morseri. Okay, we'll come back to her. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so welcome, Nikki Rose. Welcome back. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you all. I was actually really pleased when I joined Family Partnership just a few years ago. My son's in the audience tonight, and I just want to say thank you for listening to us and engaging with us. And I just look at each one of you and I know how hard it is. I've been on a few boards before, and I know how difficult it is. I served my boss, Senator Holland, when he was in the Alaska State Legislature, as we worked on the Education Committee to pass the Alaska Reads Act. With that in mind, I know a lot about education. It was a wonderful job that I served him as Chief of Staff. What that allowed me to do is research even more about outcomes for children and for students. And that's why I picked Family Partnership. I started my research before my son was even born. I looked at success in each of the schools, looking at lotteries and getting really excited that he would be entering kindergarten in 2018. When I did that, I also started looking at the board that you're sitting on. And I actually said, I'm going to get more involved. I'm going to learn how the board operates because I want to be a vital part of this community. I got to meet some members of your administration. I got to meet some members of the board. And I also had 100% attendance in the Board Leadership Academy that you all provided. That opened my eyes. I immediately thought, this is a great opportunity. I can't wait for my son to go to school and learn. And so he thrived at Bear Valley, and we enjoyed that immensely. But when it push comes to shove, I realized I have a really unique child, just like I was unique, and we're all unique. And he thrives best when he is instructed by one teacher. That's a really good ratio. And I would hope that you would encourage those ratios to continue. By driving our charter away, we're not going to have those same ratios. In fact, we're going to actually decrease the number of teachers because we just don't have the budget for it. It's very expensive to educate. So our charter allows me as a parent to get involved and to have accountability to my board. It allows me to ask questions and to say, why aren't I getting my full allotment? Or what about this reimbursement? And those are the things that I value in this charter that I have with my son. It also allows us flexibility. He is thriving and enjoying the one-on-one time with me, as well as the other people that I use as vendors. And we have a wonderful sponsor teacher that we can pick. If this were to go away, our charter would then cease to exist and we wouldn't have those accesses.
Thank you very much. Yes, Andrea, when you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Mosseri. I have one child enrolled at Family Partnership Charter School, and I am a taxpayer. In my professional line of work, I help those who come into our facility seeking often emergent medical treatment that have no health insurance, are underinsurance, or have no means of paying for their medical bills. I help these individuals by assisting in enrolling them into the state program known as Medicaid, referring them to a United Way navigator to help them look for a health insurance plan, referring them to community programs, and in many cases, advocating and helping them apply for financial assistance. Due to circumstances beyond my control, I am a single parent who does not have the luxury of just staying at home to homeschool full-time. If I do not hold full-time employment that also offers affordable health insurance through my employer's group health plan for my child and for me, I will not be able to pay my mortgage or put food on our table. As a parent, I want to have parent influence and parent leadership in the ability to choose curriculum where funding for my child's education goes. I chose to move my child out of ASD beginning in the 2021 school year due to the many problems, including curriculum, class sizes, and safety. He now attends a private school. I was delighted to find FPCS because they partnered with me in the educational path that I consider to be in my child's best interest. I can speak from experience that if ASD takes over and there's no parent representation on the board, we as parents will lose our influence and the reason why we chose to partner with this charter school for our children's education. FPCS is growing in enrollment because they are on the right path. It is what parents want for their children's education. More choice, not less. I want to clear up misconceptions and false information about schools like FPCS that people are sharing, especially those individuals that are campaigning for office. No funds from this school are exchanged between our private school or are being funneled to sustain our private school. I, the parent and taxpayer, receive the funds and choose my child's educational curriculum. The curriculum that I am reimbursed for is for basic curriculum that ASD schools are struggling in and have been struggling in long before COVID. ASD schools, which my tax dollars are also continuing to go to. I'd like to ask that the ASD school board and Dr. Bryant consider partnering with the APC board instead of dissolving it and taking it over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Stephanie Long and last name Biegel. Is it Gavin? Glavin? Well, come up, tell me. Stephanie, you will go first.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Long. My husband and I are the parents of two family partnership school students, a sixth grader and a third grader. Our family has been schooling through Family Partnership for the last 7 years. We are proud to be a member of Family Partnership and are concerned and confused by the recent recommendation to terminate the charter. I won't launch into the many reasons that we chose to homeschool our children. We could have gone with any of the several options that our state offers, but we chose Family Partnership. We chose it because of the partnership of education professionals and families to give kids the best education possible. We also love the marriage of homeschool and traditional classes, and our children have benefited from both. The charter's name, Family Partnership, means that the school district and the parents are working together, and that can't happen if you remove the parent board. Our family is so thankful for Family Partnership and have enjoyed the last 7 years of teaching, learning, and connecting with other families. Please give the APC the chance to fix things. Homeschooling families aren't used to doing the easy thing. Many make sacrifices to be able to homeschool. We'll make hard choices for our kids, and I know our family is not alone in this. If Family Partnership becomes a correspondence school and ASD dramatically alters parent involvement or choice for curriculum, we would withdraw from the Anchorage School District and seek educational opportunities elsewhere. To me, dissolving the charter seems like the nuclear option, and I encourage you to work together with the APC to find a viable solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please pronounce your first name.
Yes, it's Glenn.
Glenn, okay. The handwriting I could not make out.
Apologize.
Thank you.
I'm
No
left-handed, and that's just a curse of left-handed people, I think. Well, it's been 25 years since I've sat before you, and when I sat before you 25 years ago, we were founding Family Partnership Charter School. So I was one of the founding board members, and it's my pleasure to be here, Madam Chair and Dr. Bryant. Thank you so much, and thanks for listening to all the testimony here. I will just tell you that at various times in the operation of this charter school, there probably would have been situations very similar to what you have before you today. And you could have shut it down. And I think the result would have been thousands of people that would not have graduated from Anchorage School District. And that's quite, that's quite a deep decision you have to make. And I know, by the time it gets to the level at which you've published a document, that oftentimes decisions have kind of already been made. And I guess I would just caution you that there are always many options available to this board. Terminating the charter is certainly one of them, but it is the most extreme, and I think it is not warranted. What I hope that you will consider is to give resources and maybe counseling and at least gather more information from the policy committee that governs the charter school. You know, we set up the charter school in a very specific way and in a very different way. It was to gather parental input in a much more preeminent way in a child's education. And that causes conflict with what you are used to here on this board, right? That is not the traditional way that you guys would approach the relationship between the teacher and the parent and the student. And so that tension has always been there. It was there when I was on the board for the first several years, and it remains on the board today. But as you consider your options, I do hope that you consider a different option than termination of the school, and what I consider to be a very unique and beautiful option for Anchorage School District parents and students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Sam Wolf, Colleen Forquet. Thank you. Mr. Wolf, you're first. State your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Samuel Wolf. I'm a parent, and I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak. This is my first school board meeting, but I've had almost a decade of experience with boards at several levels, on the officer level, the chairman level, etc. So kind of as my first experience, the thing that pops into my mind, number one, is Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in his last message to the Russian people before he was exiled, he wrote a treatise called Live Not by Lies. And so one of the reasons why I mention that is I just want to acknowledge my umbrage at the acknowledgement made at the beginning of this meeting. Two, I just find it very odd that we talked a lot about AP, and we talked a lot about outcomes, and we talked a lot about financial readiness and things of that nature. And yet there was data that was shared that seems that y'all and the school district as a whole are rather failing in its outcomes. And so I just would kind of put the question rhetorically to you, would you want to have the situation reversed? Like have your just jobs and your position just kind of categorically wiped away without the opportunity to make amends, to improve, to better yourself, right? So concerning family partnership, I freely choose family partnership. It includes their successes. It certainly includes their failures. I don't know any of the politics that are happening on the board, nor do I care. I know that the outcomes for my children are good, and that's really where the interest stops with me. So it seems that they're responding in a meaningful and respectful way, and so I ask for your patience and ask for your mercy. You have the authority to terminate. It is an option. It is a nuclear option, and I think just myself and probably the large family that I represent, in terms of brothers and sisters that have kids, etc., we will not continue with family partnership in an altered form. We would just move to another homeschool model that's out of ASD control. So with that, I would just say that the lesson needing to be heard has been heard loud and clear. Like, if you do not act above board, we will terminate your charter. Okay, we get that. So now there's a path forward to partnering and the higher road. And so I just implore you to take it, show some mercy, show some patience, some virtue, and don't cancel the charter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Forquet?
Thank you so much. And thank you for staying late. I realize that this is going on. My name is Colleen Forquet, and I am the parent of 2 children. One is in 7th grade now, and one is in 5th grade. We made the decision
to homeschool in 2019 when I went to first quarter grades, and one of the teachers did not know who my son was. She did not know who my son was, like couldn't pick him out of a crowd. That was very upsetting to me for the safety standpoint. And yes, my son is kind of a soft-spoken child, but that is ridiculous, appalling, and I was very upset by it. We applied, I did a lot of research, and we decided to lottery into family partnership, and we were lucky enough to get in. I don't know everything that's going on with everything with the board. But for example, my 7th grader now, his standardized test scores were at 57%. He was below average. They're at 91 and 88 for language arts and for math with the standardized state testing. He is currently in Algebra 1 as a 7th grader, and he is really doing well. He is understanding what he is learning. He is thriving. My youngest son, we were going through his math and found out that he did not understand the concept of place value. You would give him a number like 1,436,000, and he would go, okay, there's a 1, there's a 0, some zeros, a 4, a 3, and a 6. And whatever number came, he didn't understand the fact that you needed those zeros to hold that place value. If he had been in a standardized class, I don't know how long that would have gone unnoticed. So parents, I think, know what their kids need. Everybody needs something different. Earlier, there was the discussion about AP classes and the children that would benefit from them. But as it was stated, that might not be the right path for all children. And I think one of the really nice things about family partnership.
Thank you very much. Kristen Marchant. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Kirsten Marchant, and my husband and I have 6 children enrolled in family partnership. The news of this potential change with our charter was sudden, and the solution proposed seemed very drastic. This morning, I was ill-informed as to why a decision like this would be necessary, but I have taken the day to locate, print, and read through all of the related emails, which was substantial. This is front of the need to change. The Alaska statute confirms that, quote, a charter school operates as a school in the local school district, except that the charter school is exempt from the local school district's textbook program, selecting its own curriculum, selecting its principal, and scheduling requirements. This matters to us parents who have chosen this road of homeschooling with intention and thought. No matter what your decision, which is out of my control, our family will find a charter school. My hope and proposition is this: if the APS is beyond repair, as it is suggested in the emails, which I question, for few things produce such good fruit as family partnerships are beyond repair. But let's look attentively at the problem and how we can fix it. Let's work together for the good of our kids who are flourishing. This proposed solution seems unjustifiable and overreaching. We have loved family partnership, and I hope that you will consider pursuing alternative options. I say this not threateningly, genuinely, but if family partnership becomes a correspondence school under the ASD, we will no longer be a part of it. And I'm obviously not alone in that. I'll finish with a quote. Every human has 4 endowments: self-awareness, conscience, independent will, and creative imagination. These give us the ultimate human freedom, the power to choose, to respond, and to change. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And that concludes our extended public comment period. We are now back to our agenda. Item E, the consent agenda.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Moved in second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any opposition?
1 second. Let me pull up something. Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether to pull them on or we board and discuss it. Yeah, Madam President, I'd like to pull items 4 and 5, the guardrails 1 and 2 for discussion.
Items 4 and 5. So those would move to action. This is the acceptance of guardrail number 1 monitoring report, which we've had those discussions already. We just had not brought them to the board to approve.
Okay, well.
So did you still want to pull them?
If we can have a discussion at some point, but I'll go ahead and withdraw the request right now, but I feel like we need to have a discussion in regards to it as well.
Sure.
And so I'll withdraw it right now with that understanding.
Okay, yes, these are reports that we've already had. We just did not approve them. Right after, like we normally do. So, all right, thank you. So it's been moved in second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other opposition? Any opposition? Can we do a voice vote, please?
Member Donnelly?
Yes.
Member Higgins?
Yes.
Member Holloman?
Yes.
Member Lessons?
Yes.
Member Wilson? Come back to her. Member Jacobs?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
I can see that she's there.
And President Bellamy?
Yes. Okay, so. All right, so the consent agenda has been approved. 6-0. Thank you. We're moving on now to item F. 1 action item, uncontested student hearing.
Madam President, I move to approve the expulsion of the student associated with ASD incident number 1359015 as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Moved in second to approve the uncontested student hearing as discussed in executive session. Is there any opposition to the approval? Hearing and seeing none, that item is approved. Next, you have non-agenda items that will come before you next on the 3rd of April. Those will come back before the board. We have had our second hour of public comment. So that brings us to the superintendent update. Did I skip G? Yeah, I said those are non-action items to come back next time.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ASD community. and ASD board. So I'm going to switch up the order of my points a little bit just to acknowledge a lot of the comments that were brought up tonight. I do think it's important for me to address a couple of points directly. I do want to state that tomorrow I anticipate an FAQ to be released to families to more thoroughly address some of the very valid questions, but all of that to say, regardless of how this proposal turns out, whether it's approved or rejected by the Board of Education, family partnership families are ASD families. And I value your voice and I value what you bring to the table. So I do want to personally take a moment to address some of the things that were brought up tonight, to hear it directly from me. So first off, I do want to restate that regardless of whether family partnership is a charter school or a choice school within the Anchorage School District, it is an Anchorage School District school. So for that reason, when serious matters are brought to my attention, when the record is thoroughly looked at over a lens of multiple years, it's incumbent upon the superintendent and board to take action. And unfortunately, this situation has progressed to a rather urgent situation to where I felt that a decision needs to be made one way or another sooner rather than later, because I do fear that unless something changes, there is future risk of breaches either to the charter, family partnership bylaws, state law, or board policy. And that's just based on a track record of this happening over multiple years, and more can be found about that in the memo. But that aside, I do want to be clear that this proposal will not impact the teachers or the students or the student allotments or the very important thing that families have advocated for tonight, which is the freedom to make choices about their curriculum and the structure of family partnership programming. Our teachers and families have developed an authentic partnership over the 25 years that the school has existed, and that needs to be protected. I do hear that there's some question around how this could impact student allotments. The student allotments will not decrease from what they are today, and there are no plans to change that. And the reason for that is because I too want family partnership to be successful and to be a leader amongst correspondence school programs among the state. So for that reason, it's important that we're both competitive in terms of our allotments and our academic programming. This change is specifically around the adults that are governing the APC board. As we were hearing testimony today, I was made aware of another resignation on the APC board as of today. And that's one of nearly half a dozen that I'm aware of over the course of recent history. And that on a governance level, which is the sole responsibility of the APC, is incredibly alarming, charter school, district or not. That's incredibly alarming. But with that said, I also want to be clear, there seems to be concerns about what would happen with the family partnership fund balance should this transition occur. There's no interest in using those funds for anything other than family partnership related expenses, including to ensure that the allotments are paid out per adherence to state statute. This is not about the funding. This is about multiple years of documented dysfunction on the part of the APC that needs to be remedied, or at least be put on the record for vote sooner rather than later to ensure that we mitigate future risks. So I want to make that clear. That's not pleasant to hear, but it's incumbent upon me to be very clear with the community that I am concerned. And I have reviewed multiple documented instances, not just within the last year, but honestly since 2018, that include violations of the charter, municipal code, conflict of interest violations, and other breaches that are very serious. And I have no reason to believe that those will stop. Unfortunately, I wish I could say that or differently. That is my position. That is why I'm standing by this recommendation, and I'm bringing it forth a vote. So we will revisit this conversation in April. So that's what I want to say about family partnership. I wish that I had better things to report, but this really goes back to documented instances in 2018. And for the public that's listening today, I also encourage you to look at an attachment that was attached to the board agenda in December of 2021 when the family partnership charter was discussed, where additional claims are also outlined. I think it's important that the public is aware of all the information, so that way, regardless of what happens, we can ensure that we're supporting family partnership families as much as we can. Because again, regardless of what happens with this vote, family partnership families are ASD families, and we need to support him. So that's what I want to say about family partnership.
Thank you. Did you have anything?
I did too. I do think, just to switch gears a little bit, what I did want to talk about was actually something much more lighter, which is about the district's future as it relates to college, career, and life readiness. So some of you noticed today that I was a little bit more energetic when it came to our goal discussions today, and that's because we're talking about the very topic about which I'm extremely passionate, which is college, career, and life readiness. And despite all of the various opportunities that there are to be distracted by, noise and, sidebar conversations and other interests, I'm doing what I can to model a laser focus on the board's goals and guardrails, which focus on reading proficiency, math proficiency, and college, career, and life readiness. So we're making progress on that front. So last month, for example, we voted upon the change to a new K-3 ELA curriculum, which is in direct alignment with our goals to increase reading proficiency. Today, we had a discussion on professional learning communities, which is one way that we can ensure that we provide our educators with time during the day to focus on what it means to be a great teacher, to collaborate alongside peers, and to have great conversations about what it means to embed best practices, especially in the wake of adopting a new curriculum. It's important for us to make an attempt to give teachers that time to practice their craft and to be the best teachers they can. I'm passionate about that. And I also wanted to share that in addition to those two things that have happened within the past month, I did have the opportunity to visit some schools in Nashville. I did share with the board in writing some of my wonderings, but I would be remiss if I didn't share with the community about that trip and why it happened. So essentially what I did was I visited Nashville alongside my colleagues who are other community leaders in the Anchorage community, and we went to conduct a site visit to see a college and career readiness transformation in Nashville, because all of the people that went to Nashville with me have a vested interest in figuring out how we can make ASD schools the central part of our workforce development strategy. So it was great. All of that to say, we came back to Anchorage ready to roll up our sleeves and think about how this could look like in our context. In Nashville, they have a really compelling model called academies, which are essentially smaller learning communities where students, before they graduate from high school, get credentials in the industry that are linked to high wage, high demand jobs, or it links them for opportunities to get perhaps an associate's degree in the local higher education environment before they even graduate. That's really exciting, but the reason why the Chamber of Commerce and the business community and others are so invested in this work in Nashville is because they recognize this is not some sort of school district initiative. This is really at the heart of our urgency to build Nashville's place as a city in the country. And I really think we're at a similar place here in ASD. There's a lot of great stuff going on in Anchorage. There's a lot of great stuff going on in Alaska. I love living here, but I think we realize that we're at an important impasse where if we don't do something about our workforce challenges, we're going to be hard pressed to fulfill our prophecy as being one of the leaders in the country when it comes to bringing people in and keeping people here to stay. So that's why my colleagues were so excited to come back and begin chomping at the bit. How can we work together to make this happen in the Anchorage way? So in any case, I've been presenting to numerous boards across the city about this type of work. And, they're all excited about how can we make this happen? How can we supercharge our workforce development here in Anchorage and Alaska? And we're talking about what that could look like through an actual task force. We'll do that strategic planning work. But I think the only really wondering I've heard from members of the community is, but what about the programs that I love right now that exist right now, like International Baccalaureate or language immersion or pathways that are successful right now? And the short answer is we want to protect programs that are working. And in fact, in Nashville, International Baccalaureate, for example, I had the opportunity to see an academy that was specifically centered around the International Baccalaureate program. So you truly can integrate a career academy with advanced academics and a college-going culture. It's really just turning learning into life and making it relevant into students' aspirations so they're more connected. We had some speakers today about the amplified geometry. And, as a former geometry teacher and geometry content writer, I was really excited to hear them talk about this because it's true when you connect learning to real life experiences, it really creates an excitement, enthusiasm for learning that's authentic and can transcend throughout your college years and beyond. I truly think that some of the students who spoke about the curriculum could be future engineers as a result of making learning real. And I think that this type of an academy model can make learning come alive for students, and more importantly, connect them for free to industry credentials that could connect them to either jobs right here in Anchorage or to UAA and other universities here in the state. I think there's a lot of movement here. But anyway, and lastly, I just want to thank the leaders from UAA and the ADC and the Muni and everyone who came along with me to invest their time to travel all the way across the country to Nashville to support ASD. That means a lot, and it's going to go a long way. So it's been exhilarating. I love talking about our goals and guardrails and our academic focus, but I do acknowledge that there will be distractions that take us away from the work. I do acknowledge that the fiscal year 25 conversations are going to be coming back. But again, I am committed to doing my part to model what it means to focus on the core of our work, which is to educate our students. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Could you tell us who sponsored the trip to Nashville?
Sure. So this is in partnership with the Ford Foundation. They have an organization called Next Generation Learning, and they provide technical assistance to help districts figure out how to connect the dots really between the business community, nonprofit, and school district to do work like this.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the superintendent before we move on to board comments? Yes, Member Lessons and then Member Jacobs.
I'm sure we'll hear more about the academies in coming days. I mean, I think about our comprehensive high schools right now, and they're neighborhood high schools. And are the academies based in are they neighborhood schools? Do students move across Nashville to attend Academy A or Academy B or Academy C? I mean, I'm just sort of trying to imagine what academies might look like in Anchorage, and we got a lot of schools of choice, and clearly there's more conversation to be had.
Yeah, I can't speak to exactly how school choice works in Nashville, but I would imagine that there are mechanisms to be zoned to one comprehensive school and attend another school. For example, a lot of times districts do this. You can attend the International Baccalaureate program, for example, and there's not one in your neighborhood. But at a high level, the point is that they have quite a few comprehensive high schools, I think more than ASD. And within one school, they can create about 5 different academies that each focus on some sort of different trade or skill, like IT and education and let's say IB or interdisciplinary liberal arts kind of instruction. So that way, no matter which high school you go to, you have 5 different options that are tied to some sort of career. And the thing that I wrote in Board Connect, but I didn't say here, the really neat thing is that this isn't about tracking students into vocations while they're, in 9th grade. They create this really strong culture to help instill in kids where it's okay to think you want to do IT and then realize that no, coding's kind of boring. So I'm going to maybe be a vet after I graduate. It's okay to explore different careers and fail. That's almost as beneficial as finding something that you love, finding out that maybe you don't want to do this. So I think that's just a really genuine culture that I saw talking to dozens of students.
Yeah. Member Jacobs, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I wanted to, get clarification on something Dr. Bryant mentioned, and then I think we heard during public testimony. And for a board connect is fine if we don't know right now. I believe you mentioned that another resignation occurred on the policy committee at Family Partnership, and then I thought we heard a testifier mention that the principal was let go. Can we confirm that now, or is that a board item?
This happened live time while I was on the dais. I don't have all the information, but I have a sense that perhaps information was shared that was not supposed to be shared, because all the public was aware of is that the principal's evaluation was supposed to happen today. No one was made aware about what the outcome was supposed to be. So that's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Well, I guess I apologize for, I don't know, how that, I'm not sure. I guess it's not even my place to apologize. So I guess I'll wait for Board Connect for more information. I did have a couple points, and I'll email these to you, Dr. Bryant, but at some point here, based on public testimony and some great points made, hopeful for some clarification. I thank you for speaking to the financial perspective and knowing that funding would maintain under the proposal put forward by administration, and that wouldn't be crossed over for other ASD purposes. Regarding parental involvement, I've been privileged to have youth attend family partnership, and we enjoyed it because of the unique opportunities it provides. One of those is increased parental involvement. I wasn't involved with the APC. I frankly didn't know there was an APC I could get involved in, but I think that there's positive effects that come from the committee when it's functioning. I'm curious, I guess, and I don't think I saw it in the memo, what administration envisions the role being for a more informal committee. I know that Matsu Central has a structure. I believe Polaris has a structure. I was digging into Florida is often used by the State of Alaska Department of Education and Early Development as a model. So I looked and see what they did down there. I think that their statute requires every school have a committee that specifically for parent involvement that weighs in on budget and curriculum. And so if that is something we can provide in Board Connect later, that's fine. If there's an answer now, certainly not holding you to it. So that's one item I had for follow-up.
Sure, I'd like to answer that now, and that will actually be near the top of the list of what will be explained in the FAQ. So I am aware of a very great best practice in the Matsu Central District called an Academic Advisory Council. I think that's a great practice that really brings together parents and students and staff to the decision-making table to do a lot of what the APC was intended to do for family partnership. I think an interesting thing that a lot of people may not realize is that most correspondence schools, the biggest ones, are not charter schools. They're district correspondence schools, oftentimes state correspondence schools. So this would be very similar in the sense that if family partnership were to transition to a choice school, it could also, just like Matsu Central, which is not a charter school, have that same structure of an academic advisory council.
Follow up?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, so I had a list, so I'll just go through them, and Dr. Brown, I'll email these for follow-up. One of the arguments that came up, or points of debate, I guess, that came up tonight, which I think I saw on a political blog, was the comparison of outcomes. Thinking back to a House Ways and Means Committee and a House Education Committee hearing, my recollection is that the data for our charter schools is a bit different than our brick and mortar schools because participation isn't compulsory and the rate of participation is significantly less. Is that accurate? Or if we don't know that right now, can we add that to a Board Connect?
I will get specific numbers for Board Connect. I know in testimony in Juneau, a number of 20%, I think statewide, was put out there. I would need to verify ASD numbers, but I did have preliminary numbers run to where I think back when we did peaks, we essentially had about 170 students take that. That's a small percentage. I think on the most recent state proficiency assessment, it was about 60 students. So I want to verify that those numbers are accurate, but all of that to say, there does seem to be very low participation and very high opt-out of state tests.
If I might, Madam President, just one more point.
Let me just check here. Does anybody else? You got it.
Okay, Gavin, these are just informational points I'm hoping for us to get to consider, I guess, prior to the next meeting. I think, Dr. Brown, you mentioned that a certain number of committee members had either been removed or resigned. Getting that clarification, because I didn't see that in the memorandum, would be helpful. And then information from the charter school director. I haven't met extensively with Mr. Vlasny as I have with his two predecessors, but I know that they spend the vast majority of their time supporting schools. And so perspective from Director Vlasny might be helpful for the board if that's something that administration can provide in reference to the memo. So those comprise my list. Thank you for that, and I'll follow up with an email, but I want to get those out here in case other board members had questions or points of information they were looking to get. I wanted to pivot really quickly, if I might, to the topic of college career life readiness. I'm really glad that we were able to make that trip. There was a point where I was going to potentially attend and I couldn't make it work, so it's one of my regrets. But I think that there's a lot of positive room for growth in that area. It's one of the exciting things I find about our strategic plan. I think Member Wilson and I, along with President Bellamy, at one point were talking about arranging a visit for legislators to see what we have currently in place at King Tech and some of the amazing things happening there and room for expansion. And so, I think there's a lot of great work going into what we're doing right now and potential for growth. So thank you for all involved.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no other hands. If you could, Dr. Bryant, there was a comment made about being denied legal services among the testimony tonight. I'm not sure what that is referencing. So if you could give us an update on that in Board Connect, that would be great. Sponsor teachers, choosing sponsor teachers, is that one of the FAQs?
We'll put that in the FAQ, and in short, I would like to keep family partnerships programmatic aspects intact. This is purely about the governance, specifically the academic policy committee.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to item J1, board comments. I'm going to start with Member Holloman.
I think I've forgotten most of them. I did want to make a shout out to Service High School for stepping forward with jerseys so that the Shishmaref girls could have something to wear while they participate in the state tournament. There are moments like that when hardships befall your competitors. And I think when people step forward in cases like that, it's the best aspects of team sports. And when I read the article, I realized actually a number of schools volunteered. Service just happened to be the best fit. But just always happy when our students react that way. And other than that, no comments.
Thank you very much. Member Lessons.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was on my mental list of things to mention. I really appreciate all the community members who took time to engage in our meeting tonight. I appreciate responses by members of the administration, Dr. Bryant, and questions from other board members. I want to say I'm really proud of the students who have been willing to take a stand on the future of their education. We saw some of them here tonight. We've seen them down in Juneau. We've seen students across Alaska speak up. Those voices are really important, and I'm proud with the next generation of leaders and thinkers. So to that end, I look forward to checking in with our student advisory board bright and early tomorrow morning. I really appreciate staff involved in today's PLC discussion. I think that a focused investment in professional learning time across our K-12 system is going to pay huge dividends for student growth. And I think this is thinking big. It's thinking strategically. It's going to be different, but I think it's another really positive step forward. I did want to flag for community members that I'm looking forward to community start time discussions this week. And I also want to recognize opportunities for community members to weigh in on the future of education funding in Anchorage, courtesy of a testimony opportunity tomorrow night on HB 65. You can call in from 5:15 to 7:15 for 2 minutes apiece, or send in an email if you're long-winded like me. And House Bill 39, which will be the state's operating budget. Anchorage has an opportunity on Wednesday night from 5 to 8 p.m. Those do overlap with two of our start time discussions, so it can be an ASD night all the way. So I think that really the public response to HB 65 is going to determine whether or not this bill moves through the committee to continue a journey through the legislative process. I'll stop my comments there.
Thank you very much. Member Donnelly.
Madam President, I'd like to join in your comments earlier this evening regarding the development of the college and career ready goals for the school district, and one of our top goals as designated by this board. And I'm really excited about the progress being made there and its potential for the future. I just wanted to follow up. It was about a year ago that I offered my opinion during this part of our meeting that I thought the president of Russia was a war criminal. Well, last week, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Putin for war crimes. So I guess the wheels of international criminal justice turn slowly, but they're getting there.
Thank you, sir. Member Jacobs?
I will, echo points made regarding appreciation for public testimony. I appreciate and respect anyone who's willing to take time out to come connect with us here. Our meetings aren't conducive. They're evening meetings, and because we aren't full-time employees, this is really the best time to have them. And so, thank you. Would appreciate folks being willing to speak up during public comment opportunities with the Alaska legislature tomorrow, beginning with HB 65 and other opportunities to support our teachers, items like the return to defined benefits. I believe Senator Murkowski recently filed a bill that would eliminate the exemption and return Alaska to a state where individuals might receive superior Social Security benefits as well. So there's movement everywhere to address the education and staffing shortage we're experiencing. I'm so grateful for those stepping up and doing the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Higgins?
Thank you. And 20 minutes left. The only thing going for you is that I've had a Coke and a water, so I'll make it brief. I just want to, first of all, thank all the people that came tonight and spoke. Regardless of the position they took, they care enough about kids. They care enough about their kids' outcome, their education, and they came in and spoke passionately about that. And that type of feedback is meaningful. I appreciate the superintendent's comments. He's being very honest and direct on the issues dealing with state, local, and ASD policies and obligations and concerns about compliance with that. And how do we deal with that issue will be discussed in April. But the commitment, I believe that the superintendent shared, as well as I think is shared by the vast majority, if not all the board members, is that the family partnership success we do not want to see impacted. The commitment there to do that. We have a lot of charter schools that are separate. We've got a lot of optional programs that are in the school district. And sometimes they work better than other times. I'm very heavily involved with Montessori, and I think they vary a little bit by school. But they rave about the relationship in regards to it. And so I'm involved with that aspect of it. So I see both sides of this coin, some advantages and disadvantages quite a bit. But the compliance is a big issue. And like I said, I appreciate the superintendent being very direct and upfront about it and shared, his commitment with the family partnership plan to be successful. With that, I'm actually going to yield the rest of the hour and 20 minutes if I can, Madam President, and save it for next time.
Okay, that works for me. Thank you, sir. Member Wilson would like to just remind everybody that there is a communications meeting she didn't text me the date. I think it's on Thursday at noon, followed by governance. Also, those will be available accessible online. I'd also like to just remind, just piggyback on Member Lesson's comments regarding our school start time conversations, town halls. Tomorrow is the first one at Betty Davis East Anchorage High School. On Wednesday, the conversation will take place at South High School. And on Friday, the conversation will be at Mirror Lake. So we're hitting all pockets of town. Doors will open at 5:30. And they will be live streamed if you can't make it in person. So please add those opportunities to your calendar. Do you have any other comments, Dr. Ryan?
No further comment. Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Thank you. And I would also like to thank everyone for showing up tonight and really telling us what you value, your family value.
regarding family partnership. So with that,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
moved and second to adjourn.